A test? Poi ditemi com'è l'audio, eh. Listen well. Once again, there was a call from Kraus to the guest house, and the message was that Kinzo wanted to hold a test to see if the grandchildren had the qualifications to be the next head. Ciao Andrew. The head has said that his successor will not be one of us siblings. He wants to pick from the grandchildren. From Kraus' restrained style of speech, Jessica realized as his daughter that he was being forced to speak. As she was forced into the realization that the hostages were being exposed to the dangers even now, and if they have refused this test, there was a possibility that the hostages would be harmed. What should we do? Hold on. Kraus held the receiver away from his ear, then looked at the grinning Kinzo on the other side of the bars. Kinzo gave his next order. Aspetta un attimo. Ah, ok. Before the test, those unrelated must be removed. Goda and Kumasawa are there, I believe. It would be a problem if they interfere with the test. Banish them from the guest house. Banished? Banish, you say? There should be a gardening storehouse in the Rose Garden. Lock Goda and Kumasawa in there. We'll begin from there. Tell them to do it immediately. My weapons will be watching. Should they do anything questionable, I'll instantly stop the test and execute all of you as sacrifices. I understand. Hello, Jessica. Listen closely to what I'm going to tell you. Kraus relayed to Jessica the orders to lock up Goda in Kumasawa. What kind of test are you planning? It is truly a simple test. I will simply have my grandchildren show me their resolve. Well now, I wonder what kind of resolve they'll show me. Well, the result, not resolve. Of results they'll show me. With displeasure, Kyrie watched Kraus, who was talking with the grandchildren. It's regrettable, but for now we can't refuse orders. In this dungeon, a feeble resistance won't amount to anything. If we provoke him too much and drive him into a position where he might kill us, there will be no longer any way to stop this murderer. For now, the only choice left is to obey his rules without agitating him, all the while waiting for a chance. However, if we continue to obediently follow his commands, the children might be attacked in this so-called test, and they might even lose their lives. Whether we feign obedience or try to resist, nothing will cause the situation to improve. Anyway, keeping our eyes peeled so we don't let a single chance escape until the very end, it is the only resistance possible now. While telling herself this, Kyrie watched over Kraus as he delivered Kinzo's orders. Kyrie-san, let us be patient. I know. It's unfortunate, but all we can do right now is wait. If we can just do something about those bars, we'll be able to get back into the mansion. If only we could somehow get out of here. I will try something. Kinzo-san, I have a request. What is it, my friend? We understand well that you want to test the children. It is fine for you to do things as you desire. Without your power, the Ushiromi family might have collapsed long ago. Truly understand why you want to carefully select the person who will take charge. Besides, this is what the family conference is about. We won't get in your way. I'm glad to have your understanding. That's right. This is the family conference. The final family conference where I will select and finalize the next head. So the thing is, Kinzo-san, it is far too cold here. We won't interfere with your test, so couldn't you just take us to a slightly warmer place? At Nanjo's words, the slight sign that Kinzo's mood had been improving were blown away. A moment of silence struck Nanjo as Kinzo glared at him with dangerous eyes as though evaluating him. Certainly, this place is cold. It's tough on an old body. My lord, would it be alright if we moved them upstairs? That is not happening. I don't think so, Nanjo. I know how truly elegantly you lay the foundations for future moves, as you appear to give me a turn's breathing room. I'm not falling for that, oh no. If you insist you're freezing, then I will line the floor with red-hot coals. My apologies. Virgilia had tried to help out, but in the end Kinzo was having none of it. You two sure are obedient. If you feel like it, you could easily break those bars. Quello che avevo detto io, no? Kano, non puoi fare un fium fium. Even if we break this, nothing will come of it. True. If you were able to break this, it would mean the end of Goldsmith game. All of you, as well as those humans in the guest house, would immediately become sacrifices for Kinzo's ritual. But you know, you two might be the only ones who hold the power to break through the situation, right? You want to reach the golden land, don't you? You must have many dreams you want granted, right? Gap, you mustn't provoke them. This is not your game. It is the master's game and Milady's. What is it, Noronove? Oh no, nothing. We were chatting with the prisoners. Forgive us. Gap sent one final sneering smile at Canon, then turned away. Canon could only bite his lower lip and shake his fists. Damn it. Well done. Good job holding it in. Powerless. Because we are furniture. That's right. We are powerless. But there are times when furniture is needed, and even loved. We're stowed away in the basement right now. That's all. I'm sure that one day somebody will love us, need us. So for now, let's ignore their provocations and bear with it, okay? Father, I've ordered them to lock up God and Kumasawa in the storehouse. Good. You may hang up now. Siesta sisters, observe the grandchildren as they lock God and Kumasawa away. If they do anything suspicious, then in that moment the selection test for my successor will be over. When Kinzo made his order, the Siesta sisters appeared behind him in a line. Understood, sir.
執行は私が
I
や
will
る
scout.
556と410は両翼支援
556 and 410 cover both flanks.
45は全周警戒
45 wide area surveillance. 556 è nuova.
00
00 556 is
そうだった
that's right.
すまない
Sorry.
いい子でした。
She was a good kid.
だから私は嫌いに。
I don't like them.
いいやつは
Good people.
何をしている
What
か
are you
シエスタ
doing,
姉妹
Chester sisters?
我が命令を
Carry
遂
out
行
my
せよ
orders.
失礼しました
My apologies.
では
Then
監視に向かうであり
let's
ます
go observe.
出撃
Move out! Nanjo and Kiria witnessed the instance they appeared and disappeared as if by teleportation. But they interpreted this as they had probably moved in and out of the darkness in a way that only looked like teleportation. And the two could not do nothing but rub their eyes.
さて
Well
私は
then,
テストの準備
I
を
shall
し
begin preparing for the test. Ronobe, Gap.
お前たちに
I'm
は
asking you to be the examiners.
悪ギリアはこ
Virgilia,
やつらを監
you
視す
watch
るよう
these rats.
何しろ我
After
が
all,
艦
two
が
of
2人
you,
いる
two of my furniture are here.
一応は警
Just in
戒する
case, be on your guard. He glanced sharply at Shannon and Cannon. Tightly closing her eyes, Shannon gave a silent bow, answering wordlessly that she would not cause any
かしこまり
trouble.
ました
Certainly,
注意します
I'll be careful.
リーアの老体には
Is this
寒く
cold
て辛くない
hard? Isn't this cold hard on your body? Old? Isn't this cold hard? Porca puttana, pipi. Isn't this cold hard on your old body,
湯
Liam?
たんぽでも持ってくる
Should I bring you a hot water bottle?
うるさいです
Shut up. Guarda che carina. Guardala. Shut up.
早く追いきなさい
Hurry up and go.
ガップ
Anche l'altra volta aveva provato a fare un diminutivo del suo nome, ma non ci è riuscita. E adesso ha fatto Gap senza una A.
さてさて
Well, well.
テ
Test
ストと
technique
は
examiners.
そして試
What a
験
strange
とは
experience we
今
have
回
this
のゲー
game.
ムは変わった試みですねお嬢様を
I
楽しま
do
せる
hope
展
this
開になる
development
と良いのです
entertains
が
me, lady.
さあさあおいでなさいヤギ
Arise,
の
goat
従者たち
attendants. Virgilia called out of the dark and from that called out into the dark, and from that spot 3 massive goat-headed attendants slowly melted into vision.
リーチェの眷属ね
Ah, Riches
便
minions.
利だわ
How
しか
useful.
も暖かそうだし
Oh, and they look so warm.
あ
I see.
tampa
So
no
this is
kawa.
instead of a hot water
あ
bottle.
なら
In that
ヤギより
case,
羊の方がい
wouldn't
いんじゃ
sheep
ない
have been better than goats?
カシミヤ臓器のくせにうる
Shut
さいで
up
す
about it, you cashmere mop.
彼らは賢くはありませ
They
んが
aren't very
命令
bright,
に
but
忠
they are
実で
faithfully
強
but
靭
they 従
な
faithfully
頼れ
follow
る従
orders
者たち
and
で
are
す
quite dependable.
任せるぞ
I leave it to you,
我が友
my
悪
friend
ギリアよ
Virgilia.
残りのもの
The
は
rest
私と
of you
来い
follow me. Kinzo turned with a grand swish of his cloak. Following him were Ronobe and Gap, as well as 3 recently summoned goat
あな
attendants.
たたちは私と残る
You
んです
three
よ
are supposed to be wait. Infatti, stavo per dire. You three are supposed to wait here with me. Don't follow them. The goats jumped in surprise and then came plodding back. Kirie, who had been watching in disbelief as all of this played out, couldn't help but snort.
愉快な部下ね
What entertaining landlings.
ゴールドスミス教より
Lord
死後の
Goldsmith
許
did
可は
not
与えられ
give
てい
you
ません
permission to speak freely. She was probably a little embarrassed. Virgilia had spoken coldly, but Kirie could see right through that, and for a little while she couldn't restrain her muffled laughter. However, on the inside, Kirie was surprised at the number of people Kinzo had with him. Because including Kinzo himself, at least 10 enemies had already been spotted. The dungeon that we're currently locked in were supposedly underneath the hidden mansion called Quadorian. Although this mansion existence had been whispered of, not even Kraus had known it for a fact until today. Were there actually several facilities like this on Rokkenjima, unknown to all but Kinzo, hiding untold numbers of henchmen that only Kinzo knew of? How many humans are on Rokkenjima locked away by the typhoon? No, actually... Scusate. Are we the only ones under the impression that there are only 18 people on this island? As we bickered over whether Beatrice existed or not, and racked our brains over something as minor as a 90th person, we were on this island the perfect example of frogs in a well. No, wait, in fact, at this point, are there actually more people on the enemy's side than ours?
何が起こってるの一体
Just what the hell is going on?
魔女悪魔
Witches?
魔法
Demons?
それ
Magic?
を信じろというの
Am I supposed to believe in
おか
those?
しいのは私の目
My eyes
それ
screwed
とも
up.
頭なの
What is my head?
頭がどうにかなり
I
そうよ
think I'm losing it. A mass murder by magic. Demons forming and disappearing in thin air. More importantly than the enemy's numbers, how should we interpret the various things thrust before our eyes that cannot be explained with the common sense of this world? Kiria started to feel like she didn't know what was going on anymore, and while desperately battling the urge to abandon everything and give up, she clenched her teeth in an attempt to hold on to her sanity. Oh no, poveri. Obviously, God and Kumasawa were quite unwilling to be locked in the Rose Garden shed, but they have been threatened that if they resisted, the hostages' safety would not be guaranteed. It was fairly hard to get them to agree, but once the idea was raised that their safety might actually be guaranteed if the key to the gardening storehouse was to be handed to them through a cracked open window after they were shut inside, it was suggested that blankets and food could be carried in for them, and they were finally convinced. It's pretty chilly. I wonder how long we'll have to stay locked in here.
下手をすると
Worst case,
月曜の朝まで
until
丸々
morning
一昼夜はいてもらうこと
so a
になるか
full
もし
day
れ
and
ない
night.
本当に
I really feel bad about
お二人には申し訳なく
doing
思うよ。
this to you two. George and Butler cleared the space on the floor, then spread the blankets there. They also left the canned food, crackers, and other light snacks they had brought.
月曜の朝までを二人でこの
It'd
領
be
地を
hard for
辛い
you
な
to, guys to go until Monday morning with just
せめて
this.
厨房に言われたな
If
ら
only we could have stopped by the kitchen.
余計な場所には行くな
We
と言
were
わ
told
れて
not to go to any unnecessary places.
私たちは監視され
They
てる
do
らしいし
apparently have us under surveillance after all. Damn it.
何もお力になれない
I'm honestly sorry that we
申し
cannot
訳
be
なく
of,
思います
I am honestly sorry that we cannot be of any
こんな
use.
時に
And these are the times that we are truly supposed to be at your sides.
仕方ないです
Can't be helped.
それより
More
熊沢
importantly,
さんをよ
we're
ろしく頼
trusting
み
you
ます
to take care of Kumasawa-san.
何が起こるかわからない
We don't know what's going to happen.
いざという時は
When it comes
臨
to
機応
it,
変に
I
助けてほ
want
し
you
い
to do what you can do to help us.
そして何よりも
And more than anything, I want you
無事
to
で
be
いてほしい
safe.
ええ分
Yes,
かっていま
I
す
understand.
皆さんこそ
Please be
気
careful,
をつけて
everyone.
くださいね今の親方
Right
様
now, the master is
まるで人の命
taking human lives,
Chessの駒の
lives
よう
that
に
like they're
奪います
pieces on a chessboard.
気をつけてください
Please be careful. Goda stared at the floor, remembering the atrocity in the dining hall, even now unable to believe what had happened. And he hung his head in shame at his inability to fully describe that
あり
terror.
がとう
Thank
くれぐれ
you.
も注意してください
Please
ね
make sure that you stay in your
熊沢
guard.
さんも
You too, Kumasawa-san.
ジョージさんたちも
And you
くれ
all,
ぐれ
please
も
take
ご
care
用
as
心なさっ
well.
てくださいねもう
I don't have any
私は
idea what's
何が
going
何
on
が
anymore.
それじゃあ
Well
僕
then,
たちは行きます
we'll be off.
行こうバトラ君
Let's go.
ジェシカちゃん
Jessica-chan.
ほら
Jessica-chan.
マリアちゃ
Come
ん
on.
も
Maria-chan, you too.
おー
Tra l'altro vorrei fare un'osservazione. Aspetta. Looking at the painful expression on the faces of the pair to be imprisoned, it became hard to close the shutter. but we can't disobey. We are being watched. We brought the shutter down and locked it. Then George headed to the small window on the side of the storehouse. It was a small, latticed window which could only be used for light and ventilation. It looked like something from a jail, making the two of them seem even more pitiable. But on the other hand, it would protect them from Kinzo and his subordinates, so one would hope. He opened the window and called out,
大丈夫ですか
Are you
寒くない
alright?
ですか
You're not cold, are you?
え
We are
え毛
alright.
布をこんなにいただき
We've
まし
been
たから
given
ね
all these blankets after
く
all.
るまっていれば
If we wrap
きっと平気です
ourselves,
よ
we'll be just fine.
石油ストーブとかを持ってくればよかったな。
I wish we could have brought them a kerosene stove or
こ
something.
こじゃ換気できないからね
But it wouldn't have
辛いだ
ventilation
ろうけ
here.
ど今は
It's
仕
tough,
方が
but
ない
there's nothing we can do now.
僕たちは
Hostages are being
人質を
held
取られてい
against
る
us.
逆らえない
We can't disobey.
畜生
Damn it.
なんとかキリエさん
If
た
we
ちを救出
just,
することがで
if
き
we
れば
could just save Kiryu-san and the rest somehow,
聞かれてるかもしれない
they might be able to
ゴー
hear
ダさん
me.
これ
Goda-san, here.
そのシャッターの鍵です
That's the key to the shutter. George threw in the Kindo. Threw the key through the tiny window.
確かに
Thank
お
you.
預かりします
I'll hold on to it. Goda took the key and after showing it to Kumasawa, placed it on his own pocket. There was only one key to the garden shed shutter. That was being held by those two who were locked up inside it. If the children had held on to it, then it was stolen, and then if it was stolen from them by some chance, that would risk exposing the lives of those to the shed in danger. And even with the key, the shutter could not be opened from the inside. State pensando quello che sto pensando io? Mi spiace per loro, ma abbiamo letto 3 episodi e mezzo di Umineko. E Kinzo Ushiromi. Abbiamo letto 3 episodi e mezzo di Umineko. Questo è un setup perfetto per una closed room. Non mi sorprenderebbe se tornando qui più avanti li troviamo morti. E non sto parlando perché sto parlando perché abbiamo fatto esperienza assieme. Comunque, it satisfied Kinzo's demand. However, there was no longer any way to open the shed from the outside either. This would protect them. Kinzo had ordered that they be confined, and we could do nothing but trust that this cold, locked room would protect them. Vabbè, lo dice anche. Holding Maria's hand, Jessica watched George hand over the key, then looked over the thickets in the pitch-black rose garden. Somewhere in this darkness, somebody was hiding. Oh, singhiozzo. Watching to see whether they obeyed orders or not. Of course, merely pointing their flashlights out there did nothing to make any suspicious silhouettes appear. But somebody was surely out there, hiding and watching. They were hit many times with an urge to scream at them, but they held that back through reason. The 4 children left the area behind, repeatedly looking back over their shoulders. The feeble light from the light bulb in the gardening storehouse was seeping out slightly. Was it at all possible that this insane incident would somehow come to an end, and so that they could see those two again? To George, who had closed the shutter himself, the resistance on the lock made it feel as though he had killed them with his own hands.
それでも
But even so,
俺たちは逆らえ
can't
ないんだ
disobey.
よ
テストだと
Test.
じじいめ
What
ふ
the
ざけや
hell,
がって
man?
それで母さんたちが殺されて
Killing mom,
父さんたちが捕まって
capturing
理解できねえぜ
Don't get it.
ぶっ殺してや
I'll
る
kill him.
大丈夫だよ
It's
ジェシカお
alright,
姉ちゃ
Jessica
ん
姉ちゃん。
悲しくなんかない
There's
よ
nothing to be sad about.
マリオ
もうすぐ魔
The
女は蘇
witch will be
る
revived very
す
soon.
ぐに黄金鏡
It
で
won't be
会える
long before you can see her in the Golden Land.
あい
Ecco.
不謹慎なことで笑
Don't
うんじゃ
laugh at
ねえぜ
inappropriate
何
times.
が魔女復活の儀式
Seriously,
だ
a resurrection ritual for a
妄
witch.
想はじいさまの
He
頭
should
の
just
中だけ
keep
にし
his
ときゃいいもの
fantasies to the inside
大
of
勢
his
巻
head.
き込みやがって
Getting all these people
こい
involved.
つは高く
That's
つ
gonna
くぜ
cost you, bastard.
ゲストハウスに戻ろう
Let's return to the
おじい
guest
様から
house.
電話があった際
It'll be
に
bad if we aren't there when grandfather calls. Urged on by George, everyone began walking towards the guest house. At that moment, Jessica spun around and roared towards the darkness of the rose garden.
おい誰か見てんだろ
Hey, someone's watching,
じ
right?
じいに伝えとけ
Tell the old
絶
man.
対にぶち殺
Tell
して
him
や
I'm
る
gonna
ってな
freaking kill him.
行こう
Let's go. Of course, there was no reply, only the howl of the wind and rain. The children returned to the guest house in fear of what would be watching for them when they got back. Waiting for them. In fear of what would be waiting for them. After they departed, from the exact point in the darkness that Jessica yelled at, 2 rabbit ears sprung up.
ごめんなさいバレてました
Sorry, they found me out.
45がすっとら
Because you're too slow, 45.
竜王様に怒られる
Pendragon Sama is going to scold you.
ごめんなさい竜王様に言いつけるのは許してください
I'm sorry. Please don't tell Pendragon Sama on me.
黙れ静かに
Shut up and be quiet.
どうせハったりだ
It was obviously just a bluff.
ゴーダと熊沢の関
God
係が
and
確認した
Kumasawa's imprisonment
任
confirmed.
務完了
Mission accomplished.
報告に戻るぞ
Time to report back.
イエーイイエーイ泣いた
連帯責任で人参と水だけの刑になりたいか
Do you want us to all stuck on nothing but carrots and water because of a collective
行
responsibility?
くぞ
Let's go. Finito? No, non è finito, ok. Sì, le hanno chiamate anche le guardie reali di Pendragon quando le ha evocate Kinzo in questo episodio. Una cosa solo, vorrei solo vedere, siccome l'hanno menzionata e c'era il nome sopra, non è che... No, non c'è. Volevo vedere se avevano messo 556, invece no. It certainly seemed to be a fact that they were being watched. Because once they returned to the cousin's room, turned on the lights and lay down on their beds, the phone rang again. Up until now, Jessica had been answering the phone but seeing as though it was her house, but now it was George, as the eldest, who picked up. This time, Kirya-san was the one on the other end of the phone. George handed it to Butler out of consideration.
もしもし
Hello,
キリエさんか
Kirya-san?
そっちは大丈夫なのか
Is everything alright over there?
心配をありがとう。今のところは快適よ。ごめんなさい。死後は慎めと命令されてる。今から伝えることをよく聞いて。
Thanks for worrying. It is agreeable for now. Sorry, I've been ordered to refrain from speaking freely. Listen closely to what I'm about to tell you. The fact that they were being held hostages still hadn't changed. And Kinzo, or one of his subordinates, was probably listening to this conversation. Butler restrained the urge to talk about other things and focused on what Kirya had to
テ
say.
ストはジェシカちゃん、
The test will be given to Jessica-chan, George-kun,
そしてマリ
Butler-kun,
アちゃんの順
and
で行われる
Maria-chan
そうよ。
in that order.
順番に呼び出すから。
You'll be called out in turn, so until then, do not leave the room.
呼び出された者は
The person who is called out will head to their designated location alone. Butler repeated it out loud so that his cousins would also understand.
ジェシカ、兄貴、
Jessica, Anki, me, and Maria, in that order.
呼び出しがあるまで部屋に
Stay in the room until we're called. Right.
分かった。
Got it.
マリアもなのかよ。
Here
9
too.
歳の子にまで。
Even a 9 years
クソ
old.
じじいは何を強いる気なんだ。
9-year-old girl.
畜生。
What's that old fart going to force her to do,
後ろ
goddammit?
宮家の命運は
Future of the Ushiromi family rests in all of your
頑
hands.
張って
To your best.
ああ。
Sure. Butler noticed the strange nuance in Kiria's words. Even without any blood connection, he could still understand thanks to the long-lasting bond they shared. Now was not the time to worry about the future of the Ushiromi family. That wasn't the message that Kirie-san wanted to send. She probably meant there's no way for us to escape from this dungeon. We can only wait to be rescued. Our lives are in your hands. Something like that.
ああ。
Yeah.
任せてくれ。
任せてくれ。
どんなテストか知らねえが上等だぜ。
No idea what kind of test it is, but bring it on.
受けて立ってやら。
I'm not backing down from that challenge.
本気のテストなんだよ。
It is a serious test,
マ
right?
ジにやっちまって。
I'm okay for us. It's okay for us to go all out. Cosa dici? Super Saiyan Butler, cosa intendi go all out?
本
Yes,
気のテストよ
it is a serious
おじい
test.
様も本気で
He
試
plans
すつ
to
もりでいる
seriously test all of you.
ダメだな。全然ダメだぜ。
全然ダメだ。
死にかけの老いぼれが。
Some old fart on death's door think he can take me on when I'm
寝
serious.
言は棺に入ってから言
Let
いやが
him
れ。
sprue that shit from beyond the grave.
そこにいるジジイに言っとけ。
He's there, so tell him this for
次
me.
期当主は俺だ。
Next head is me.
その最初の仕事は
And my first action will be to implant my fist into your face. Even without Kirie having to repeat it, Butler's powerful declaration of war reached Kinzo's ears.
バトラー、それは実に楽しみであるぞ。
Oh, Butler, I will truly be looking forward to it.
一度は後ろ宮の名を捨てた男が何を身につけ、何の境地に至って我が前に現れるというのか、そう伝えよ。
I can't wait to see just what a man who once discarded the Shiromiya name has attained, to just what state of mind he has ascended as he stands before me. Tell him that. Unfortunately, Kinzo's voice was not picked up by the receiver, so Kirie spoke for him.
大いに上等だそうよ。
He says he's more than up for that
いい
challenge.
バトラ君。
Alright, but
手加減は不要よ。
there's no need to hold
あ
back.
なたはルドルフさんの息子。
You are Rudolf-san's son.
いいえ、私の息子
You
よ
are。my son.
誰に自慢しても恥ずかし
Show
くな
me
いところ
something
を
I won't be
私
embarrassed
にも
to
見せて
brag
ちょうだい
about.
あなたに全てを託
I
すわ
entrust everything to you.
了解だぜ、母ちゃん。
Que cute. Roger that. Mom,
あとは任せておけ。
leave the rest to us.
私たち全員は当主後継ぎ
All
の
of us
資格
here
を
have lost the right to inherit the position of
もう
head.
私たちは
Now we're just the same as pieces taken off the chessboard,
同然よ
looking on from the outside.
だからあなたたちだけで
So you have to
戦
fight
って
by yourselves. È la seconda volta che lo dicono, eh? È la seconda volta che dicono we had the same as pieces taken off the chessboard. Già la prima volta mi ha puzzato. Me lo dite 2 volte. Siccome c'è sempre questa analogia con lo gioco di scacchi, vorrei che significasse qualcosa di più di questo.
キリエさん。
Kirie-san. The nuance of those words was, we've already given up, you can forget about us. But for that very reason I won't give up. I'm going to wreck this test or whatever and save everyone.
それでは
Well then,
一番最初
here
の
are the
ジェシカ
instructions
ちゃん
for
へ
the
のテス
first
トの指
test.
示よ
Jessica chance.
自分の部屋へ行け
Head
で
to
す
your own room, he says.
分の部屋
Own room?
お屋敷の
He
ジェシカ
means
ちゃんの自室って
Jessica
意味な
personal
のね
room in the mansion.
ジェシカに代わ
I'll
る
hand it over to Jessica.
直接伝えてやってくれ
Tell her directly.
Jessica.
Jessica. Hello? Ok, I understand. Sì, esatto. first, huh?
私からか。もう覚悟決めたぜ。
I'm
行っ
ready.
てくるぜ。
Be right back. In actuality, Jessica was probably feeling the fear of a girl her age, but she buried those feelings and strengthened her
幼
resolve.
児
Be careful, okay?
私たちは監
You're
視され
being
てんだろ。
watched, right?
余計なこともでき
We can't do
ない。
anything.
言いなりになるし
All
か
we
ない
can
さ。
do is do exactly as we're told.
食堂で
Then say that old geezers killed. Then say to that old geezer killed those 6 in the dining room in an instant. We know it. Ah, scusa. Non then. They say. They say that old geezer killed 6. Faffanculo. Faffanculo anche, perché siamo un'altra classe qua. They say that old geezers. Un stacco. Ah, yeah, cazzo, sono morso un po' più forte del dovuto. They say that old geezer killed those 6 in the dining hall in an instant with no hesitation.
それは
Might
俺
be
たち
the
に
same
対して
for
も同じ
us.
分かってる。
I get
軽
it.
いうちにしてやるぜ。
Pay him back.
無茶はダメだよ
Don't do
危
anything
険だと思っ
reckless.
たら
If you
自
think
分
you're
を最優先に
in
して
any danger, you put yourself
フラン
first.
ス王子さんが
Uncle Kraus
自分
find
のため
out
に
that his daughter
娘が
sacrificed
犠牲になっ
herself
た
for
こと胸
him.
が張り裂けて
There's
しまう
no
に
doubt he
違いな
will
いから
tear his heart apart.
逆も同じだぜ。
He goes the other way
父
too.
さんと母さん
Mom
が
and
殺さ
Dad
れ
were
て。
both killed, and I
私
was
だ
the
けが生
only
き
one
残ったら
left.
私の
My
胸だって
heart
張り裂
would
ける
break
ぜ。
itself to pieces.
バトラ君
But
さっきの話は
is what you
本
said
当だね。
earlier true?
ああキリエさんたちはもう
Kiriya-san and the other are
覚悟を決
already
めている
prepared for what will happen.
なら
That I'm even more sure I'm ready.
みんなの命は
Their
私たち
lives
の
rest
双
on
肩
our
にかかってるっ
shoulders.
てことだ。人質みんなは
The
囚われの
hostages
身で
can't
何
do
もできない。
anything while locked
な
up.
ら
So it's up
私た
to
ちは
us
何とか
to
する
do
しかねえん
something
だぜ。
about it.
もし何かあ
If
ったら
anything
ゲ
happens,
ストハウス
run
に
back
逃げ
to the
戻って
guest house.
その時点で
At that time, we'll
僕
be
たちが
done
おじい
playing
様の
along
ゲー
with
ムに付き合うのは
grandfather's game.
兄貴その時点で僕
At
たち
that
は
time,
宣戦
we
布
will
告
declare
どこ
war.
かに閉じ込められている彼らを救い出し
Wherever they're locked up, we'll save
おじい
them
様には
and we'll see that
しかるべき
grandfather
処
gets
遇を
what
与え
he
る
deserves.
いいのか兄貴
Are you sure?
シャノンちゃんもいるんだろ
Shannon-chan's there's too.
だからといって
Doesn't mean
僕は座して
I'll sit around
婚
and
約
wait
者
for
が
my
殺されるのを
fiancé
待ち
to be
はしないよ
killed.
僕が恐ろ
What
しいのは
scares me is not that
おじい
Shannon
様
might
に
be
シャノン
killed by
が殺される
grandfather.
僕の婚約者に
Just worry, you
恐
guys
怖を
will be
味
the
わわせた
first
ク
to
ソじじい
find
を
that
君らが僕よ
doddering
り先
old
に
bastard who gave my
ぶん殴っ
fiancé a
ちまう
taste
こ
of
とだけさ
terror and literally beat me to the punch.
なるほどな。
Now I get it.
確かにこいつは
Now,
次期
yeah,
党首が誰
this
かを
really is a
決めるっ
test
て
to
テ
settle
ストら
who's
し
the
いぜ。
next head's going to be.
だなクソじじいの顔
The
面に
first one to bury a fist into that
一番最初に
old
拳を
geezer's
見舞いした
face
やつ
is
だ
the successor. George, Butler, and Jessica each forcefully nodded their heads and put their fists together. Then Jessica headed off to her own room as designated, her form disappearing into the darkness of the rose garden, which was shaking the violent winds. As they saw her off, George and Butler hardened their trembling fists. Tutti così, no, proprio non ho un terzo pugno, però 3 pugni, così andiamo a tirare pugni in bocca al nonno. Jessica's back was watched through the window by Maria, who had remained upstairs. Her expression was blank.
みんなは何を
We
言って
wonder
待って
why
るのか
everyone
な
is getting so
ベア
upset.
トリーチェが蘇
And
れば
Beatrice
みん
is
な生
revived.
き
We
返ら
can
せて
get
も
her
ら
to
える
bring
のに
everyone
ね
back to life. Jessica's form had already been completely swallowed up by the darkness. At that time, the phone began to ring again. Butler and George heard it and came clamoring back, but Maria picked up the receiver right
も
away.
しもし
Hello,
マリア様です
Maria-sama.
シャノンです
It's
ジョー
Shannon.
ジ様代わってい
Would
た
you
だけます
please hand the phone to George-sama? This time, it was Shannon on the phone. And the purpose of the message was to tell the next person, George, where he was to go. Maria tipo casta testicular torsion e distrugge Kinzo. The next head, eh? Qua è Jessica, penso che sta andando in camera sua. It goes without saying, but since the time she was born, Jessica was raised in this mansion. The Western-style house that the cousin simply called the mansion was her home, and yet she had never understood her cousin's feeling as much as she did today. At the same time, her own home, which she knew well, and never felt so different a place as it did now. Her own room. This had once been the personal hideaway, the only place in this vast mansion where she could feel at peace. However, that door had never felt as intimidating as it did now.
テストだって
A test, he said.
一体
What the
何が
hell?
待ち受け
As
て
he
やがるん
got
だ
waiting in there.
まさか私の
Better
机と
not
か
have
開き直して
ransacked
ね
my
えだろうな
desks and stuff. She acted tough, trying to deceive herself, trying to make herself believe that she wasn't scared of anything. She readied herself and opened the door to her room. No, anche per me, Jover. When she saw that, fortunately, the room didn't appear to have been messed with. The room didn't appear to be messed with, she relaxed. No one was there, of course. There was nowhere for anyone to hide here. Right away, Jessica locked the door behind her. Now the room was safe. She peeked under the bed and in the closet, but of course there was no one hiding.
なんだってんだ
She looked at the clock. 10 past 11, or just a little past that. As her tension lessened and the fatigue came back to her entire body, she realized how messed up this whole day had been. It was still only 11. The plan had been for all the cousins to get together, have fun playing around, and talk animatedly about all kinds of things together into the night. Normally, we would have been doing that kind of thing at this very moment. Why has that turned into this?
全部
It's all that old bastard's fault.
よくも
How could he do that
あそこ
to Mom?
No
To everyone? Her head was swimming with anger and sadness, but there was no one here to direct those emotions at. Because of the lock, this room's security was guaranteed. Remembering that one more time, Jessica somehow regained her calm. If it keeps up like this and nothing happens, Jessica thought that she would like to go to the dining hall and see her mother's last face. Everyone thought Goda has emphasized so strongly that it was so gruesome and that she definitely shouldn't look at it. Even so, she wanted to see her mother's face one final time. But they have been warned repeatedly that doing anything stupid would put the hostages in danger. Could it be that by locking the door was also against the rules? If I close myself in here, I alone might be saved. But if I don't open it, it will surely be against the rules, and Dad, Canon, Shannon, Auntie Kyria, and Dr. Nanjo will all be killed. There's no way the scales balance between 5 lives and my own. There's no way the scales balance between 5 lives and my own 1 life. È vero, Jover che c'ha il tirapugni in tasca. No, Kinzo non ci sta nel fighting game. Non c'è. Jessica tightly shut her eyes, resting the other parts of herself, which said, Isn't it alright if as long as I survive? Then headed to the door and made to unlock it. Just then, a crisp applause rang out, making Jessica heart leap.
鍵をかけたままなら
If the door had been locked, it might have been in violation of the rules, and harm could have been come to the
し
hostages.
かしそれでも
Even so, your own life, but even so, your own life might have been saved.
しかし
However, you resisted that temptation and were about to unlock the door yourself.
そのあなたの勇気
The
は
bravery of yours is worthy of admiration. I, the owner of this room, had searched to make sure there was nowhere any human could have been hiding, where had this man? There was nowhere for a human to hide, but could something that wasn't human have managed it? I was pretty sure it was my first time meeting with this largely built middle-aged man. I did not recognize this guy, who looked like a butler and bore the seal of the one-winged eagle. A pleasure to meet you, Jessica-sama. I serve as head furniture for the master, the 27th of 72. I am called Ronove. No? Where? Kenji-san? Ah, yes. Kenji is like my little brother. Or perhaps it was my true fault in this world. Perhaps you could even say that he was a vessel. What's this guy saying? Oh, my apologies. This is nothing that can be explained to a human. Well then, let us move on to the main event. So this is the old crackpot's test or whatever. Correct. This is the test that the master had granted him. At Ronove's elegant gesture, like that one of a butler ordering for the meal to be set out, many gold butterflies flew up out of nowhere. What the hell? The swarm of gold butterflies spun around, forming a small swirl as they gathered in one place. Then, that golden mound disappeared like a pile of leaves blown away by the cold wintry wind. And there lay the western envelope with the one-winged eagle crest done on it in gold leaf. Ronove gestured to pick it up. Jessica timidly picked it up and opened the letter inside. What is this? It is an exceedingly simple test that looks for the qualifications for becoming the next head. Please attend to the question written there with the readiness of the next head who will bear responsibility for the Ushiromiya family. And tell me your answer, as well as the thoughts that led you to it. Shaking, Jessica looked back and forth between the paper and Ronove's face several times. Dai, bastardi, facci leggere cosa c'è scritto. At that time, George, who had been called out after Jessica, could be seen in the arbor of the rose garden. He had been planning to give Shannon the ring that would be proof of their engagement here tonight at this time, if things had gone normally. But the woman in front of George was not Shannon. Read it. That is Goldsmith's test for you. George picked up the western envelope on the table where he had once drunk tea with Shannon and read its contents. Perhaps its message was short. After a single glance at it, George's eyes grew sharp. What is this? What is this supposed to be? It's what it looks like. This is the test given to you. Fine if you have the qualifications to be the successor to the head. Ask yourself what makes you qualified to be successor as you answer the question. What a stupid question. I agree. It really is a stupid question. In that case, isn't the Ushiromiya family headship something just as trivial in Goldsmith's eyes? George lowered his eyes to the surface of the letter once again and examined its contents. George and Jessica. While the tests given to them were slightly different, they were almost exactly the same. Among the three mentioned below, in order to gain 2, sacrifice 1.
簡単な3択じゃない。
It is a simple three-choice
ど
test.
れを見殺しに選ぶ
Decide for yourself which one will you choose not to save.
選択を拒めた。
If you refuse to choose, the test is suspended.
私の手で
I have been given
あなたを
permission
こ
to
の場で
kill you
殺して
right
しまってもい
here
い
by my
許
own
可をもら
hand.
ってるわ。それさえも選択肢
If
に
you
含
would
めるな
include even
Your
that as a choice, then there are 4 choices.
私
It's
君
been
み
an
たいなこと遊ぶ
awful
のは随
long
分
time
久しぶり
since
だ
I've
から
gotten to play with a kid
そ
like
れも
you,
嫌いじゃないわ
so I can say I'd be disappointed.
この3択はあくまでもテ
These
スト
3 choices only a
それ
test,
とも
or will the choice be
選択は結果を
accompanied
伴う
by its result?
何を甘えてる
Don't
の
be naive.
君が選択した
The
ものは
one you choose will definitely
必
lose
ず
their
命を
lives.
落とす
Adesso voglio sapere anche la vostra domanda, la vostra risposta a questa scelta multipla. Among the 3 mentioned below, in order to gain 2, sacrifice 1. Your life. Shannon's life. Everyone else's lives. If you do not choose one, all of the above will be lost. Immagino che ovviamente cosa Jessica avrà scritto Canon's Life. E questa è tosta. Io non saprei cosa dire. Cioè, se fossi in una situazione del genere dove tipo tutta la mia famiglia, i miei amici sono tenuti ostaggio e la vita della persona che amo, cioè le 3 scelte sono sacrificare la mia vita per salvare la vita della persona che amo e di tutti gli altri, sacrificare la vita della persona che amo per la mia vita e quella di tutti gli altri, o sacrificare la vita di tutti gli altri per la mia e la vita della persona che amo, è tosta. Non saprei. Detto questo, secondo voi cosa sceglie George? Io non dico perché so. Tanto andiamo avanti. E poi anche cosa sceglie Jessica, dai, visto che ci siamo.
どうしてシャノンの名がここにあるん
Shannon's
だ
name here.
2番目の選択肢
The
には
second choice has the name of the one most needed by that person
愛する
and
者
most
の名
loved.
ジェシカへのテストの
I
2番に
believe
は
Canon's name
Canon
is
と書かれてい
written
るはずだ
second on Jessica's test.
このバカな問題を
You gave this stupid question
ジ
to
ェシカに
Jessica.
も出したのか
ジェシカのことなんかどう
Why
でもい
does
いでしょ
Jessica matter?
今
Right
試され
now,
ている
you are the one being
あなた
tested.
よ
È
実
vero,
に
in quello di
簡単な
Butler
選
e
択だ
quello di
わ
Maria? It really is a simple 3-choice test.
他の2つのため
Well,
に
you can throw
どれ
away
を捨てられるかという
which you can throw away for the sake of the other two. Well, which can you throw away for the sake of the
簡
other
単
two?
でしょ
Isn't that
そ
simple?
れでも決まらないなら
If you still can't
コインで
decide,
も貸してあげようか
would
し
you
ら
like me to lend you a coin?
コイン2面しかないもので
How
どう
would
や
you
って
choose
選択
between
を
3 options with something that only has 2 sides?
自分の命を捨てられる者が
There's no one who would throw away their own life.
となればおのず
So
と
natural. Only
残る
2
選択
options
肢は
remain.
2つになる愛する者のため
Will
に
you give up on
全ての人
everyone
間
for
を
the
諦め
sake
る
of the
か
one you love?
一人でも多くを
Or
救う
will
ため
you
に
give up on the person
愛
you
する
love
一
so
人を
that you
諦
can
める
save as many people as possible?
どっちにももっともらしい
Either
大
way,
義名
you
分
can
をつけ
fit
られ
it
る
with
わ
an appropriate just
だっ
cause.
て
After
今や
all,
この六軒
this
島は
Rokkenjima is
悪
now
の
a
島
demon
ですよ
island.
人間の世界の
The
甘った
sickly,
るい慣
sweet
れ合いなんて
body-body
必要ない
pretense of the human world is not
誰
necessary.
も責めないわ
No one will
あ
blame
な
you.
たの心の
Do
赴く
as
ま
your
ま
heart desires.
後ろ宮家の家督を継
While
ぐにふ
asking
さわしい
yourself
資格
whether
は
you possess the
自
fitting
らにあるか
qualification
問い
to
なさい
succeed the headship of the Ushiromiya
いい
family.
え
No.
自らが
Make
後
your
ろ宮
decision
家
as
当主
though
である
you
と思って選
yourself
択なさ
are
い
the Ushiromiya family head. What the hell did you take me for? Jessica crumpled the letter up and threw it onto the floor.
お怒りはごもっとも
I
と
believe
思
your
います
anger is quite appropriate.
私も
I
非常に
also
驚
find it
きの毒で
exceedingly pitiful
それでいて
and
実に
truly
滑稽な
ludicrous
人だと
question. Like elders, anyone who could wish for their own death. Like elders, anyone who could want to remain alive after abandoning the life of the person they love. Like elders, anyone who could massacre everyone else as long as it's good for the two of them. No, Jessica-san. Such a person could exist. This is Rokkenjima, the demon island. It is now completely cut off from the human world and dunked fully into the nether world like cheese fondue. The value of the human world will be taken out with the trash. So please, choose the things you desire from the bottom of your heart in the order you desired. Whatever remains will be your answer, and the one most fitting for this insane life. Screw you! How could I choose any of these? If you do not choose one, all of the above will be lost. Also makes for a fine fourth choice. You may be also interesting if that one is chosen. But since choosing that will result in the loss of your own life in the end, I believe it would be more wise to do the honorable thing and select number one, your life, so that the other two will be saved. All is entrusted to your decision, Jessica-sama. Please, let me hear an answer and conviction fitting for the successor of the Ushiromiya family.
親方様の血を引きし末裔にふさわしき素晴らしい回答を心より期待いたしております。
I am sincerely hoping for a wonderful answer fitting for the master's descendant who shares his blood. Damn it! The scene was being observed through a magic crystal ball being held by Kinzo. Kinzo finally couldn't hold it back. Spreading his arms and facing the heavens, he began laughing in an explosive voice.
何を迷うか、愚かなる孫たちよ、我が末裔たちよ。
Why do you hesitate, foolish grandchildren and descendant of mine? This is a simple problem that can be answered immediately. Mi sono preso un po' dalla foga, ho tirato un pugno al tavolo. It should cause less vacillation than whether to put butter or jam on your morning toast. You people know the correct answer. He turned and stared wide-eyed at the Chester sister who had been faithfully standing in wait behind him. No, my apologies. Fool! Not choosing at all means game over. You foolish rabbit who cannot even choose a reason or a goal for her own life. 誰にも気づかれずに踏み潰されて生を終えるあれ一匹ほどの価値もないわ。死ね、潰れろ。私が瞬きしている間に消えてなくなれ。お前はどうか。You have not the value of a single land that anyone might step upon without even noticing. Die, be crushed, disappear faster than I can blink. And what of you? I would sacrifice the first one. My life, sir. Weapon exists to fight and die in battle. And weapon exists to destroy enemies and protect allies. We can die protecting the ones we love. We can die satisfied, sir. A truly splendid model answer for a weapon. The immediate replies is very nice. Have you been taught that you'll be given an extra carrot for answering that way? That's not it, is it now?
それすらも違うよ
Even that isn't
な
it. Is it now?
そう聞かれたらそう答えようとお前はただ吹き込まれた通りに答えたに過ぎない。お前も今のウサギと同じだ。自分の生きる理由と目的を未だに見出せずに生きている。生きる価値なきクズめ。貴様など潰されて他の家畜の餌にでもなるのがお似合いよ。
You are merely answering the way you have been told to answer, repeating the answer you have been indoctrinated with. You are the same as the other rabbit a second ago. You still live without having chosen a purpose or a goal to live for. Filth whose life has no value. I would fit you well to crush you down and use you as fodder for the other livestock. Yes, sir. Animal fodder would be an honor. I don't think so. You don't want to see anyone else die anymore, do you? Why can't you accept that? Accept that your old wounds are still festering and rotting deep inside.
不臭にて鼻が曲がりそうであるわ。愚かなる腐れウサギめ。お前にはこれが褒め言葉である。
Yes, the rotting stench almost makes their nose wrinkle. You foolish rotten rabbit. These are words of praise for you.
ありがとうございます。
Thank you very much, sir. Well then, what about you? The last one. Which of the three choices would you choose? Number 2, without hesitation. There are not many who could proudly choose to offer the one you love as sacrifice. Tell me your reason.
愛する者はいつかいなくなるからです。愛する者がいなければ傷つかないし、いなくてもいつかまた誰かを愛
Because
せ
the
る
one
か
you
も
love
し
will
れ
be
ない。
lost eventually. If you don't have anyone to love, you won't be hurt. And even then, you still might be able to love someone again someday.
だから
So,
今愛
the
してる
person you love right now isn't
大
worth
した
that
価値は
much
ない
at
の
all.
です。
Mi immagino Kinzo la prende a ceffoni adesso. Ma la distrugge, le stacca le orecchie a morsi.
なるほど。それでそういう回答になるわけか。ウサギは寂しさで死ぬと聞いたが、お前の心は一体い
So
つ
that is
殺
why
され
you
たという
reached such an
のか。
answer. You rabbit who have become cowardly because you have been hurt by love. I have heard that the rabbits die of loneliness, but just when was it that your heart was killed?
ならばウサギよ。
Then, rabbit,
問いを変えよう。
I shall alter the question.
2番の選択肢。
Why don't I change the second options to not the one you love, but the memories of the one you love?
どうか。
How is that?
これでも
Can you still select that one?
何が愛
What
してる
is
もの
about
に
the
大
one
した価値は
you
ない
love
か
not being worth
愚かな
much
ウ
at
サ
all?
ギよ。
Foolish rabbit.
自らの愛の深さにも向かい合えぬクズめ。選んでみよ。愛したものを忘れられると選んでみよ。
Filth who could not even face up to the depths of their own love. Try and choose it. Try and choose that to have the one you loved forgotten.
選べるだろう。
You can,
選
right?
べるも
I'll
の
bet you can, right?
ほら。
Come on,
選
try
べる
say
って言
you
ってみ
can.
ろよ。
選べるであります。選べるであります。
ゴールドスミス教、それくらいでどうかお許しを。
Lord Goldsmith, please have mercy on her.
もうよいわクズウサギどもめ。お前たちはワルギリアのところへ行き、地下牢の見張りを手伝うのだ。消えよ。
Oh, aspetta, non ho letto. Pensavo andasse avanti un altro pochino. That is enough, rabbit filth. Go to Virgilio and help her keep watch on the dungeon. Be gone! The Siester Sister, their old emotional wounds gouged, disappeared as though running away. After that, even though there was no one left to hear him, Kinzo continued talking as though continuing the play. And there you have it, my pleasant test. To be truthful, there is no choice that can be set with correct. Whichever answer they choose, it is about whether they can choose without hesitation, quickly, and with a resolved conviction that their own strong of their own strong. Whichever answer they choose, it is about whether they can choose without hesitation, quickly, and with a resolved conviction and their own strong, unshakable will. The reason that their willpower are more important. That's what I want to know about. Descendants of mine. I'm truly looking forward to what kind of answer you will show me. Me? Yes, of course I had once the same question thrust upon me. Because I splendidly answered that devil's answer, I was able to claim gold, honor, and that which herself as my own. What answer did I choose? Do I really need to say it out loud? No, basta Kinzo per un po', la mia gola non ne può più. So, have you decided on your answer? No, vabbè, CP è ovvio. Cioè, non serve che lo dica ad alta voce, si capisce. As Jessica stared at the crushed letter which laid on the floor, she hung her head in constant silence. All that filled the room was the sound of the wind and the rain and the rustling of the treetops. Regardless of how noisy that was, it simply made the silence more apparent. Ronove waited for Jessica's answer. However, Jessica didn't speak. Whether she was deep in thought or had stopped thinking, Ronove couldn't tell. No, he might actually have known. But cruelly, like a demon, Ronove urged Jessica to voice it. If you cannot choose any, I can at least take your life painlessly, if you mind. What? I'm afraid I had trouble hearing. I have trouble hearing. May I ask you to repeat? Jessica lifted her face and looked straight into Ronove's eyes. It seemed that she had decided on an answer. Kill me. Jessica said it one more time, clearly. Perhaps Ronove had imagined from the very beginning that it would be that this would be the answer. Without any surprise, he smiled lightly and nodded. I thought that you would have chosen that answer, Jessica-sama. No, then, there is no right or wrong answer to this test. The important part is what thoughts led you to that answer. Come, now. Please answer that with your readiness, with your readiness as the next head. It's not like I chose the first one because I wanted to die. The second one was letting Kano-kun die. That's obviously out of the question, so forget that one. The third one was everyone else's lives. That obviously that's also obviously out of the
だから
question.
除外
Forget that
そした
one.
ら
After that,
一番目の選択
only
肢
the
しか残
first
らなかっ
choice
た
remained.
消去法ですか。
Process of elimination it is.
積極的にお選びになったわけでは
So
ない
it
と。
was not something you chose proactively, you say? After chuckling slightly, Ronove dropped his gaze. A human couldn't even imagine what kind of answer a demon would have been hoping for. All she could understand was that this was apparently slightly below Ronove's
悪
expectation.
くはありませんが、
It's
良くもない
not a
回答
bad
です。
answer, but I must say it's not a good one either.
60点
I
というところ
suppose I
でしょ
would
う
call it
か。
a 60.
少し
I'm
失
a
望
little
しましたよ。
disappointed.
自信を持って選べ
You're
み
a
たいな
pretty
こと言っ
selfish
ておいて
bastard, telling me to
そう
answer
してや
with
ったら失望とは
self-confidence and then being disappointed when I do.
消去法というだけ
Apparently
で
it
はな
was
いようで
not
す。
only a process of
いずれ
elimination.
にせよ、
Either way, it is a
落第
failing
です
grade.
が、
But it
もう
seemed
少し
that
お
there is a
考え
little
があるよう
more to your thoughts.
伺いましょう。
Allow me to ask.
死にたくないさ
I don't want to
だから
die. So I
一番
didn't
なんて
want
誰だ
to
って選び
choose
たくない
the first one. No one
人
would.
は
People struggling as
幸せに
much as
生きたく
life
て
will let them because
正
they
の
want to
陰
live
で
in
あがいてる
happiness.
んだぜだから本当
So
は
normally, the first choice should be impossible from the beginning.
しかし、あなたは
However,
一番目の
you
選
took
択
that
肢、
first
自
choice.
分の命を捨
You
てることを
chose
選ん
to
だ。
throw away your own life.
その選択肢
Only
しか
that choice remained.
残
一応
I tried
それぞれ
thinking
の
of a
選択
future
肢
that
を
would
選んだ後の未来
come
のことを
after
考
choosing
えてみ
each
たぜ
one.
ほ
Oh,
う、いかがでしたか。
and what did you find?
まず
First, I tried letting
カノン
Canon
君
go.
を死なせてみた私は
I tried to imagine the rest of my
自分
life
の
after
大好き
having
な人を
abandoned
見
the
捨て
one
て
I
まで
loved.
生きる残りの生涯を想像してみた
それはどんな生涯
What
でし
kind
た
of
か。
life was that? Was it?
生きるにも値しない
She was a horrible woman
最低の
who
女
didn't
だ
deserve to live.
いつまでも自らの
A
選
shabby
択を悔や
woman
み
who forever lamented their own
後悔だけのために
decisions
生きる
and lived only in regret.
ミス大好きな人を
A
見捨てて
horrible
生きる
woman
ことを選ん
would,
だ
would choose to live and abandon the person she loved.
私には許せない
Never forgive a woman like that.
私が自ら引導を
I'll
渡
put
し
an
てや
end
る
to her myself.
勇ましい。
How spirited.
では、
In
3
that
番目の
case,
選択肢も
could
考
you
え
not
られた
also
の
have
で
considered a
は。
third choice?
あ
Yeah.
私とカノン君
I
以外
tried
の
letting
全員を
everyone
死な
but
せて
me
も
and Canon
カ
kun
ノン
die.
君は
There's no way
そ
Canon
んな
kun
私を
would
好
like
き
me
に
if
な
I
る
did
はずは
that.
ないそして私もま
It
た
was no good for me
いく
either.
らカノン君がいて
Although
も
I had Canon Kun,
Sono
all of the
tameni
lies I
mistake
abandoned
of
for
all
that
the
became a cross that
Shogai
I had to
Jujika
bear for
to
my
natte no
entire
shikatte
life.
そしてその十字
And
架
even
は
Canon Kun was forced to
カ
bear
ノン
that
君にまで
cross.
のしかかった私は
Not going to
Canon
make a
Kunに
foolish
十字架を
choice
背負わ
just
せ
to
るために
force a cross
愚
on
かな
Canon
選択肢
Kun.
を選んだりはしないもしそんなことをする
The
私がいたな
future,
ら
if there's a future me
私
out
はそ
there
の未来の
who would
私を
do
許さ
something
ない
like that, she's unforgivable to me.
その女にも
I put an end to that
私が
woman
引導を
myself
渡して
too.
やる
Jessica had pictured it in her mind, the future her beyond each of 3 choices. There were 3 Jessicas. Of the 3, 2 had regrets. Only one could hold her head high and smile, Canon.
私さ
You
生
know,
意気にも
I once had the
カ
nerve
ノ
to
ン君に
preach
説
something
教
to
したこと
Canon
があるぜ
Kun.
自分の人生
Something about trying to live life to the fullest.
みたいなことを
自分の人生を思いっきり生きる。
Live life. Live your life to the fullest.
味わいある言葉ですね
Meaningful words.
それは意外に
That is
とても難しい
surprisingly
もので
difficult.
す。
That is a surprisingly difficult thing to
だ
do.
からさ
So yeah,
私が胸を張って
I've got to hold my head
カノン
high
君
and
に見せ
show
なきゃならないん
Canon.
だよ胸を張って
Show him a way of life where you can hold your head high and look anyone in the eye
思い
with
っき
a
り
full
笑顔で
and
いられる生
guiltless
き方って
smile.
やつを
あなたの自己犠牲
Will
を
Canon be able to receive your self-sacrifice?
あなたの身勝手な
Haven't
選
you
択が
considered that your
余計に彼を
self-centered
傷つけて
decision
しまうこと
might
が
hurt him even more?
だから
That's why
伝言を頼
I
みたい
want to leave a message.
ほうお聞きはしますが
I will listen, but
何しろ
I
私は
am
悪
after
魔
all,
です
I am after all a demon.
約束は守ら
I
ないかも
may
しれ
not
ません
keep my promises.
守って
Keep
約
it,
束
your promise. Jessica spoke that looking quite unconcerned. She had asked the demon who was about to take her life to pass on a message, and she wasn't thinking for a moment that she would be betrayed. At that extremely innocent smile, Ronove closed his eyes slightly and shrugged his shoulders.
いいでしょう。
Very well.
それで、
So,
彼に何と伝えればよろ
what
しいです
should
か
I tell him?
タノン君の
Tell
思いっきり
Kanon
の人生を
to live his life to the fullest. No, that's not quite it.
タノン君の
Not his
じゃない
life, not Kanon-kun's life.
本当の名前は未だに教えて
Even
もらえないけど
even now I can get him to tell me his real
本
name.
当のカノン君の
But
人
tell
生
him
を
to live the real Kanon school
思いっきり生きて
life to the fullest.
そう伝えて
Tell him that.
王女様
ジェシカ、お前というやつを。
Jessica, you are unbelievable.
炉の上は気まぐれ
Ronov
で
is
すから
fickle.
伝
She
言を
might
しなか
not
った
have
可能
passed
性もあ
the
りまし
message
た
on.
幸運でしたね
Aren't you lucky
私がこの光景
to
を見
have
せて
me here showing you this scene? A musty three-sided mirror was set beyond the bars, and the scene with Jessica was reflected on it. On the next mirror, the scene with George was reflected in the same way. None of them questioned how a three-sided mirror had appeared from a group of butterflies, or why Jessica and George were reflected on it, because the reflected sides themselves were more important.
そこまで
You are prepared
こいつのために
to throw away your life
命をも投げ出せるというのか。
申し訳
My
ありません
deepest apologies. Kraus looked at Kanon with a complicated expression that had an awkward smile mixed in. Kanon couldn't meet his eyes.
ワルギリア様お嬢様が命を落
There
と
is
される
no
こと
way.
はありません
There is no reason for Milady to lose
僕
her
を
life.
殺してください
Please kill
2 番
me.
目の選択肢に
Please change it to the
書いてく
second
ださい
choice.
それで
That way, everything
全
should
てが
resolve
丸く
itself.
収まるはずです
その願い
I am not
私
capable
に
of
叶える
granting
ことは
that
でき
wish.
ますこれはジェシカが
After
選
all,
んだ
this is
自らの
Jessica's own
選
decision,
択なのです
which she chose. Intanto sono arrivate. Suddenly the air split and the Chester sisters appeared, flying into Virgilia's chest.
ひどいんですコルラス・ビス教がひどいんです
He's so mean, so mean. Lord Goldsmith is so mean.
私だって頑張ってるのであり
I'm
ます
doing the best I can.
潰して家畜の餌とかあんまりであります
Pushing me for animal fodder, that's just too much. No, poi mi fate piangere, poverine. Still without a clue what was going on, Virgilia was smothered by the sobbing Chester sisters.
はいはい
There,
大丈夫ですよ大丈夫ですよ
Everyone's
泣か
alright,
ない
it's
で泣かない
alright.
で
Don't cry.
美
Don't
味しいお
cry.
紅茶を入れてあげ
I'll
ます
make
から
you
ね
some delicious tea.
お前たちここの見
I'm
張りを
leaving
任
up
せま
to
す
all of you to guard this
不
place.
審な真似をした
If
ら
they
す
do
ぐ
anything
に知らせるので
suspicious,
すよ
inform me immediately. The goat attendants all looked at each other and nodded their heads. Virgilia took the Chester sisters and left. The sound of people going up to a set of stairs could be heard, so they had probably gone up to the upper floor.
チャンスだわ
This is our
この
chance.
ヤギ頭どもは頭が
These
悪いん
goat
だ
heads seem to be
うまく
stupid.
騙せないかしら
I wonder if we can trick them. Kyria realized that an opportunity had arrived, but she still hadn't thought of a way to break the metal bars. The Jessica reflected on the three-sided mirror, closed her eyes as though she had given up. The way she had both hands stuck into her pockets, waiting to be defiant until the end, might have been her own kind of aesthetics.
私の言い分は以上だ
That's all I want to
殺せ
say.
よ
Kill me.
わかりました。
Very
そ
well.
れでは
Kyria Golden.
ご安心
Do not
を。あな
worry.
たへの死は
For I shall make
ど
your
んな
death
眠りよ
more
りも
gentle
優しく
and more
慈
merciful
悲深い
and
もの
sleep.
にいたします。
Ronove raised his palm as he slowly approached Jessica.
くそー
Damn it!
うわーうわー
Realizing that his daughter would be killed, Kraus repeatedly body slammed the metal bars, going half mad. The goats looked like they were sneering at how a mere human didn't chance a stand at breaking those bars. And true, Kraus' pointless effort might have been comical, but Kraus was giving it everything he had. As Jessica's father, he was living in that moment with everything he had so that he could save her. Didn't chance a stand, ho detto. Didn't stand a chance, mio Dio. Canon made tight fists with both hands. If he used his cursed powers, he might be able to cut through even metal bars. But there were a full 3 goats. There was no way he could defeat 3 of them in an instant. He would instantly be reported, and then Virgilia and even the Siesta sister would dash in. Though he may be able to break the bars, he could do nothing more. It was useless. Canon knew already that the witch was nearing at this kind of useless effort, so he could do nothing but stare as Kraus repeated body slams. Shannon, who had been looking at the 3-sided mirror, let out a voice. They looked to see that George, who had been silent this whole time, had raised his head. It seems that George had also decided on an answer. Have you decided? Your answer? Yeah, I've decided. Is that an unwavering answer? Yes, it's unwavering. Then, let's hear it. Oh, by the way, it seems that Jessica decided to take the your life option. I hope that an indecisive person like you won't simply say you chose the same answer. Jessica gave her own answer. No matter which choice that was, it was Jessica's answer. It does not influence my answer in any way. I see. Then, let me ask again. Among the 3 mentioned below, in order to gain 2, sacrifice 1. 1. Your life. 2. Shannon's life. 3. Everyone else's lives. Which have you chosen? Could it be the first one, like Jessica? No. Oh. Gappa looked a little surprised, because she had thought that a timid-looking man like this would never choose any other option. That's nice to hear. I'm glad the most boring option for me has been removed. Then, it seems unlikely, but is it the second? Can you abandon Shannon's life? You must be joking. Why would I do that to the person I'm going to give my engagement ring tonight? Now this is bold. Is that your answer? Yes. My answer is the 3rd choice. George had chosen the 3rd choice. Everyone else's lives. Even Gap hadn't been able to imagine that answer. She had been sure that he chose number 1, just like Jessica. So she became interested in how he had reached that answer. How he had reached an answer that had defined the imagination of the 33rd ranked demon of the 72. I want you to tell me the perspective that makes you able to sacrifice the life of everyone else, so that you and your fiance and the fiance you love will be safe. Process of elimination, like Jessica? No. This is the clear and only choice for me. So, I'm alright, Jack? So it's I'm alright, Jack? You can sacrifice the world for the woman you love? What are you talking about? What? George faced the demon as he spoke, looking at her almost in disbelief.
僕は今夜ここに
Tonight,
シャノンを呼び出し
I planned on
婚
calling
約の
Shannon
証で
to
ある
this
指
very
輪を
spot
渡すつも
and
りだっ
giving
た
her this ring as proof of our engagement.
僕とシャノンの婚約を祝
There
福しない
probably
者
are quite a
人
few
多いだ
people who wouldn't celebrate an engagement between me and
僕は
Shannon.
彼女と
I
の
was
婚約を
prepared to
宣言
make
することで
enemies of the entire family by
親族全てを
announcing
敵に
my
回すと
engagement to her.
僕にはあるんだよ
I have been
この
prepared
島に訪れた
since
そ
the
の時
time
か
I
ら
came to this island.
いや違
No,
う
that's
彼
not
女
it.
に婚約
Since
した
the
いと
time
打
I
ち明けた
confessed
そ
to
の
her
時か
that
ら
I
ね
wanted us to get engaged.
結婚さえできれば
So you can sacrifice
他の何もか
everything
も
else
犠
as
牲に
long
で
as you
きる
get
と
married.
結婚とは
Marriage,
自分は生涯
that means
妻の味
remaining
方で
an
あり続
ally
ける
to
とい
your
うことだ
wife for your entire life.
僕にはその時点で
As of that
彼
moment,
女のために
I was
世界
prepared
の
to
全
make
てを
the
敵に
entire
回す
world
覚
my
悟があるんだ
enemy for her sake. Those words through the three-sided mirror also reached Shannon's ears. Ciao Andrew, ci vediamo la prossima volta. And his determination reached her eyes. Shannon certainly had been arranged with George Shannon certainly had arranged with George that tonight she would be given an engagement ring. Then this incident had occurred and she hadn't been able to receive the ring. But now, even though it wasn't in the form of a ring, Shannon had received something even greater. And as proof of that, a single tear with the same sparkle as a diamond dripped down.
それは何とも振るった答えだったね
Gutsy answer.
なるほど
Yes.
よ
If
く
I
考
really
え
think
たら
about it,
君に
it
これ
was
は
an
気楽
easy
な選択
decision
肢だ
for me.
だって
After all,
君の
your
両親
parents
は
were already
第一
killed
の
on the
晩
first
に
twilight, right?
今さら君にとって
By now, there's
死ん
no
で
one
困
whose
る
death
人
would
間は
bother
誰もい
you.
ない
I see. This was an easy choice.
何とでも言うがい
You
い
can say whatever you
これ
want.
が僕の
This is my determination and my choice.
僕の次期当主としての覚悟と
As the next family head. The sparkle in George's eyes was brilliant and sharp. For just an instant, Gap felt the same sense of intimidation that Kinzo exuded and was slightly overpowered.
なるほどゴールドスミスと同じ
So
答
the
え
same answer as
と
Goldsmith.
君も
Despite
あどけ
your
なさそうな
innocent
顔して
face, you're going to
将
become
来
a terrible
とんだ
demon
悪
in the
魔になるわ
future.
けねなんだ
What do you know?
私たち
We might get along pretty
と
well.
てもうまくやれそうじゃない君がゴールドスミス
You
の
will
後を継
succeed,
ぐ
Goldsmith.
そしてやがて
And maybe one day, I
私は
may
召
even be
喚され
summoned eventually
君
and
に仕
serve
え
you.
ることもあるかもしれないそれも案外
And that might
面白い
be
かもしれない
surprisingly interesting. Gap needed to change her opinion on George. This man bore the determination and resolve unimaginable from his outward appearance and had not adopted that just now, but had possessed it since the very beginning.
僕には今すぐ
I am
当主を継
prepared
承
to
する
inherit
覚
the
悟がある
headship right away.
いや違うね
No, it's
君
not
は
it.
このテスト
You told me to think as
当
I,
主として考え
as
ろ
the
と言っ
head
た
in this test.
だから僕は
So I answered
自分が
based
当
on the
主であると
premise
前提
that
して
I am the
答えた
head.
んだいや
No,
それす
even
な
that
し
is
当
not
主
it.
そのものとして考
I
え
fought
た
as the head
僕は
himself.
今
Right now,
後ろ宮家の
I
当
am
主なんだ
the head of the Ushiromiya family.
見事だわそこまで言えるなんてね
I didn't expect you to be able to say so much.
君はどうやら
It seems
かな
you
りの大物
really
だわ
are one to be reckoned with.
バトラとマリアのテストはまだだ
Butler
け
and
ど
Maria's tests haven't
私
been
は
done yet, but if you ask me,
君が合
I
格で
think
いい
you
気が
should
す
be
る
the one to pass.
でもその答えが
But only if that
か
is
けねなし
true.
の本当のものならね
But only if that is your true, unexaggerated answer, of course.
僕の覚悟を
Do you doubt my
疑うと
resolve?
いうのか
君が選んだ選択肢を実行
Can
で
you
きる
carry out the choice you choose?
今
You
すぐ
chose?
自らの手で
Can you,
この
right
島に
now,
存在する
with
全て
your
の
own
命を生贄に
hands,
捧げること
offer
がで
all
き
the
る
lives that exist on this island as sacrifices?
自らの手で
With
よ
your own hands, I remind you.
できるね
I can. Mio Dio, che faccia che sta facendo George?
その覚悟はあると 僕は何度も言っている。
I've said several times that I have the resolve.
ならば今すぐゲストハウスに戻り
Then return to the guest house right
殺し
away
なさい。
and kill Butler and
それが
Maria.
終わったら
When that is
他の人
done,
質た
I
ちも
will
連れ
bring
て
you
きてあ
to
る
the other
君
hostages.
の手で
Execute each of them,
シャノン
except
以外の全
Shannon
員
before
を
her eyes.
そんできるんでしょ
You can do it, right?
できるね。
I can.
僕の覚悟は
My resolve
君
is
程
on a
度の
whole
それとは
different level
レ
from
ベルが
yours.
違う。
ならば実行
Then
しなさ
carry
い
it out.
すべてに死を
Death for them all.
新しき後ろ宮家の
Carry
当主
out
とし
this
て
blood-stained
こ
ritual
の
as
血塗られ
the
た儀式
new
の
head
遂
of the
行を
Ushiromiya family.
了解したよ。
Understood.
実行する。
I'll carry it out.
僕は今やも
I'm already the
う
head of the
後ろ宮家
Ushiromiya
の当
family.
主だ。
ええ
Yes,
そうよ
that's right.
自らの手で
Stain that
その
throne
玉座を
red
赤く
with
染め
your
なさい
hands.
君は悪魔たちを
You
滑
will
る魔
become the
界
king
の
of the
王となる
netherworld, ruler of all demons. Gap was now sure. This man was truly fitting to succeed Kinzo's madness.
吹けよ嵐
Rage on, storm, cry out,
新しき
thunder.
魔王の誕生を
Celebrate the
祝うがい
birth of
い
the new demon
悪
king.
魔の島は今
The island of demons has now welcomed a new ruler. In response to the demon call, the tempest raged more and more. C'è Eva Beatrice che dall'alto lo sta guardando con una lacrima. That's my boy. Then a massive lightning bolt fell. Its tearing thunder and brilliant light created the feeling of just a moment of silence.
でさ、
So,
その殺害の順番だ
about
け
the
ど
order of the
僕が
murders.
決めていい
I
わけ
get
だ
to
よね。
choose, right?
どうぞご自
Please,
由
as
に
you wish, Your Majesty, new demon king of
あ
Rokkenjima,
なたの御心
as
の
your
赴
heart
くまま
desires.
とりあえずさ、
Well, for lack of a better option,
その一番目
the
が
first one will be you.
君に
Then
なるわけだ
I
けど
hope that won't be a problem.
いいかな。
Won't be a problem. A gust of wind blew, stirring up George's jacket as though it was a cloak. It was much like the cloak worn by the head. It definitely gave the same impression of a grandeur. At that time, Gap suddenly saw the storm wipe away and the sky covered with pure white and a vast full moon. Bearing the full moon on his back, the man who called himself the new head sneered at the demon.
後ろ宮家親族のすべての命さえ
Even
も
the lives of the
今や
Ushiromiya
僕の
family,
財産だ。
all of them are now my fortune.
それに損害を出して
There
くれ
will
た
be
賠償
preparations to be made for the damage that have been done to that
安
fortune.
くは済まないよ。
Won't be cheap.
まさか
You
僕の
didn't
両親
seriously think you could take the lives of my parents,
Rudolf
Aunt
Rosa,
Natsui,
Rosa
Aunt
Rosa.
Rudolf, Auntie
そ
Rosa,
して源氏さんの
Uncle,
命を奪っておいて
non so perché ho detto Aunt
この僕
Rudolf,
が見逃すと
Aunt Natsui,
本気で思
Uncle
ってるのかい
Rudolf, Auntie Rosa, and Genji-san, and hope I'd overlook it, right?
はは生意気よ
You little wise guy. Ronove had been intending to press his palm against Jessica's chest and stop her heart. But a short distance away, his hand had stopped. On the carpet at their feet, plop, plop. Small red flowers bloomed one after another. The seeds of those flowers had fallen down from high above, all the way from Jessica's fist, held up as though to strike the heavens. Ronove's nose was stained red and spurting blood, and those drops were dripping onto the carpet.
ちなみに
By the way, that just now was my answer as a maiden.
次期当主
My
と
answer
しての
as
回
the
答は
next head is
別だぞ
different.
お伺いします。
Allow me to
大好
ask,
き人も
the person I love, my family and my relatives, everyone. I'll protect them. If I'm the head, then that's my duty. That wasn't just acting self-important. He was protecting me and Mom, fighting the pressure of succeeding the Ushiromiya family for several decades. So I know, being the successor is nothing trivial. So you know what? This is easy as hell. It's easy as hell for me to risk my own life. Jessica knew. She knew that her father, in order to protect his family, was even now bluffing and fighting a solitary fight. Jessica understood something that his back had been telling her. Another left straight was buried into Ronovi's face. That mighty strike wasn't due to just the brass knuckle he was using. It was a strike of passion, a family head who could throw away everything in order to protect. If Dad lost his qualifications to be successor, then I, the next in line, will succeed the headship of the Ushiromiya family. Not enough. I'm not enough of a wimp to let you keep doing on whatever the fuck you want. How wonderful answer. I shall change your score from earlier. Plus 10 for that answer. Plus 10 for that splendid left straight. Which means I only need plus 20 for a perfect 100. Ma che belle nuove espressioni! Ronove backflipped away from her and violently wiped away the blood pouring from his nose. It had become not blood, but petals of a red rose. The blood of his face was wiped off, and in its place was a grin from a great delight, which he had last felt so many centuries ago that he could no longer remember just how long it had been. Your resolve. Ronove will test to see whether it is deserving of full marks. Cram it, jackass! Come at me! Oh, Death from Stupefaction, questa è nuova. Death from Stupefaction, questa è nuova. Come to me, Abyss! Beneath George's feet, a pitch-black pit suddenly opened its mouth wide. Of course, George had no way of resisting. After being swallowed up by it, George fell out of the pitch-black hole that had been opened up into the ceiling of the arbor. As George fell down, he was hit sharply in the gut with a precision B strike by a reverse roundhouse kick from a stiletto heel. Ouch! Mi piace che è tagliato qui perché più in basso di così, appunto. Launched out of the arbor, the instant George thought he was about to be swallowed up by a rose bush. Another pitch black hole opened up there and swallowed George up. And this time the pitch black hole opened in front of Gap at her feet, spitting a defenseless George out of it. By that time, Gap had already finished the preparation motions for the next reverse roundhouse kick. This. Welcome back. Right side of the head, below the right armpit, side of the right knee. As Gap danced and spun like a small cyclone, she kept hitting him, right foot, left foot, right foot, left foot, with successive roundhouse kicks. The fourth one became a sweep, cutting George's feet out from under him and making him fall down. But of course there was no floor there, but a pitch black hole, and George was swallowed up once again. Gap once again spun around like a small cyclone. George, likewise, was once again spat out from the ceiling of the arbor. Take this and keep it as a memento. Single strike at the end of the abyss. Die! The sharp strike of the queen bee pierced the heavens like a rising cyclone. It kicked through George's abdomen and as he fell from the ceiling, and then time froze. George was pinned in midair by Gap's raised leg. Still pinned in midair, George moaned. Then Gap, with George still hung up on her feet, grinned. Admit it. Your attitude is at least mature. But that's no good if it doesn't come along with power. Did you know that you need... They say you need 3 kinds of power to rule this world. The first is influence. Second is wealth. Do you know what the last one is? I read it in a book. Force. Right. Alright. That is what you are lacking. Gap finally released George by kicking him upwards one more time, adding in another roundhouse kick and smashing him into a pillar. No one will feel a monarch without influence, without wealth, or without force. Kinzo possessed all 3. That is why he reigned as a tyrant. If you're going to call yourself Kinzo's successor, try showing me some of his majesty. Come on, how long are you going to lie there? Stand up. If you don't, you'll fall again, see? Mad movements. But I feel they are somehow somewhat unsuitable for a lady. Asshole! Ducking and weeping and hopping around. Aren't you gonna fight back? Jerking me around, you douche! Renove was dodging skillfully, jumping back and avoiding Jessica's fists, but he still wasn't striking back himself. Because of his agile movements, as swift as a flag, as a swag, as a flag whipping around in the strong winds, Jessica's fist wasn't even able to touch him. Amidst a feeling of blood running hot, Jessica regained her offensive composure. Even though this room was large for a bedroom, it was too small and an arena to keep up such exaggerated dodging for long. She calmly realized that and started using not only her fists but her legs as well. Doing boxing with just your arms makes you but half a man. Your arms must be the roaring lion burning with power, and your legs must be the snake, cold as ice, as it closes in on its prey. Snakes don't have legs. Very true. Jessica began cornering Renove towards the wall with the perfect footwork. She wouldn't let him get around her. Renove's magnificent dodges looked flashy, but they needed sufficient room. Once cornered, he wouldn't be able to dodge anymore. Jessica had a good understanding of the special characteristic of her equipped weapon, the brass knuckles. This powerful weapon's most notable characteristic was how he didn't let the opponent defend. Even if they blocked with their arms, that arm would receive direct damage. If it hit the wrong way, it might even break a bone. If she pressed him forward, she would block off his escape routes, and then with this fist she would chip this demon down. Oops. Oh my, when did I? Look like I finally cornered you, huh? Where is everyone being held? Where's that old bastard hiding? You tell me everything and I'll let you go with nothing more than ripping that mustache off, right? Alright.
それは困ります
That would be a
こ
problem.
れでもセットに
Believe it or not, it does take me an hour each morning to set this, you see?
ギブスの世話になったら
If you put
それも
if
で
I
きね
put you in a plaster cast, I guess you won't even be able to do that.
おっ
Oopsie daisy. Ronover blocked Jessica's lunged fist with his arm. He tried to act as though it was no big deal, but it must have hurt a lot. Jessica grinned. Ronover smiled in the same way, but twitched slightly.
なるほど
It's-
これは確かに痛
It
いです
certainly does hurt.
最終巻
Final warning.
泣いて詫びる
Break down and apologize.
それはできませんね
That I cannot
キャ
do.
ラが崩
It
れま
would
す
ruin my image.
な
Then
らお前が
just
崩れ
break.
落ちるといいぜスルベ打ちだ
Cos'è? Fa ora 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 ora. Jessica and Iron Fist were pounded into Ronover, but Jessica was startled. The impact felt wrong. There was the sound of breaking glass. What? At a glance, it looked like Ronover had just caught Jessica's with his palm. That wasn't quite true. When Ronover opened his hand, a faint purple glowing barrier like a glass shield appeared there, stopping the attack by a hair's breadth. Pulling herself together, Jessica stuck out her fist again, but with truly magnificent movements, Ronover caught all of them.
悪魔です
I am, after all, a
この
demon.
程度の
I am at least capable of this level of
それ
magic.
にしても
I must say though, you are quite good.
人間だったら
If I were a human, I'm sure this is where I would have admitted
悪
defeat.
魔だから
It is because I am a demon that I can still continue to fight.
おかしな真似を
Cheater.
それで終わりです
Is that all?
攻撃を繰り出すばか
Are
り
you sure that by attacking all the time you are not neglecting your own defense? Ronover pounded his palm into Jessica's stomach, stopping abruptly just a fraction away. Jessica was repelled by the purple shield, tumbled backwards and smashed her head on the bed.
人間ごときに
My shield
私
is
の
not
シールドは
broken
破れ
by
ま
a
せん
mere
もう
human.
二度と
I suggest that
私
you
の
never
体に触れ
again
ること
dream
が
of
でき
being
る
able
と
to
思
touch
う
my
の
body.
です
なら
In
よ
that case,
そのシールドごと
I'll
ぶち
just
抜い
punch
てやる
straight
ぜ
through that shield.
不屈な方
You are a dauntless person. That tenacity, yes, it is truly
敵
fitting
投
for the
手と
next
して
family
実
head.
にふさわしいもう少しお相手させていただきましょうかね
Why don't I be your opponent for just a while
これ
longer?
も試験官の
This
役
is
目
one
で
of the
す
privilege of an examiner.
砕けろ
Continuo a bere perché ho la gola distrutta da aver letto così tanto Kinzo. Shatter to pieces! Yeah! Gap looked down on George, sneering. He was lying face down in a puddle of the rose garden path. The merciless rain beat down on him, so that it looked as though he was... even the heavens were mocking him.
立ちなさい
Stand up.
また落ちるわよ
Fall again. George stood up shakily. It seems his spirits hadn't given in, but the damage to his body was fairly significant.
命乞いなさい
Beg for your
君の
life.
していることは
What you're doing now is the same as the fourth choice of the
4番目
choosing
の選択
and
肢に
choosing
同じ
nothing.
君が選んだのは
You choose the
3番目
right.
の選択肢
You
でしょ
choose the third choice, right?
両手両
If
膝
you
つい
get
て
down
詫
on
びれ
your
ば
knees and apologize,
私への
I'll
非礼を
forgive
許
your
してあげるわ
rudeness towards me.
そしたら
Then I'll guide
君
you
を
down
地
to
下
the
牢へ案
dungeon.
内してあげるそこで君
There,
は
for your beloved
愛するシャノ
Shannon
ン
and your powerless
非
self,
力な自分のため
you
に
kill the other
他の
hostages
人質た
one
ち
by
を
one.
一人ずつ殺していくのできるわよ
You can do
ね
it, right?
その覚悟はあ
You
る
did boast about having
君
that
は豪
resolve.
語したわ
George, di attention. Che cazzo mi è venuto all'improvviso? Che cazzo mi è venuto all'improvviso? George didn't answer, but his gaze was still obstinately resisting
あ
surrender.
まり強情が過ぎる
If you are that obstinate, then
Kongo
this time you really will fall into the
奈
deepest
落の
depths of
底
the
の底ま
abyss.
で
Gap's strength was undeniable. There was no doubt that Shannon's group, watching through the three-sided mirror, understood that, probably even more clearly than George himself.
庄司様もうやめて
George-sama, please, that's enough.
私なんかのた
You
めに
don't have to do this for someone like me.
姉さん
私のことなんて好きにならな
If
け
you
れば
didn't fall
ジョー
in
ジ様
love with
は
me,
誰とも
you
戦わな
wouldn't
くて
have
いい
to
で
fight
しょ
with anyone. Right, George-sama?
私なんて捨ててください
Just abandon me.
忘れてください
Please forget me. There was no way for that voice to reach George. But even so, George answered,
嫌だね
No way.
僕は
I won't surrender.
屈服しない
へえ
Oh?
どうして
それが僕の
Oh, why?
覚悟だからだ
Because that is my resolve.
僕はシャノンのために
I'll fight everything for
全てと
Shannon's
戦
sake
うそして全てに認
and
めさ
make
せ
everything accept us.
全てに僕たちを祝福させる
ねえ聞かせ
Hey, tell me something.
どうしてあのシャノンとかいう
How
家具
can
の
you
ために
go so
So
far
come
for
on,
that
yeah.
furniture called Shannon?
あんなの
She's
た
just
だ
a
の
good
出来
for
損ないじゃ
nothing,
ない
isn't she?
給仕一つ満足に
Furniture
で
for
き
the
ない
garbage that
ガラクタ
doesn't
家具だ
even make for a satisfactory and that doesn't even make for a satisfactory waitress.
愛する女性への暴言
I
を
won't permit any more
僕は
insults
それ以上
against
許さ
the
ない
woman I love.
だったら何
So what are you going to do about
ひ
it?
弱な僕ちゃんが
How is a weak
私にど
kiddo
う抗う
like
と
you
いうの
going to
かしら
fight against me?
人を愛するとは強さだ
Loving someone is
そ
strength.
れを知ったから
I was able to
僕は
become
強
strong
くなれた
because I learned that feeling.
シャノン僕は君を愛している
I love you.
その言葉だけで
With those words, I can
僕は
stand
何
back
度でも
up
立ち上がれるんだ
over and over again.
シャノンは力を
Shannon's in the dungeon, you know.
私に愛を語
No
られて
good
も
professing your love to me.
いや伝わった
She heard.
それが愛だから
Because
だ
this is love.
シャノンには今
Shannon can hear my
僕
words
の
right
言葉が
now.
聞こえているよそうだと信じられるこ
There's a
とこそ
reason
が
I can believe that.
愛だ
It's because of love.
こいつ
This guy.
シャノン君
Shannon,
は家具なんかじゃない
for no
家具
furniture.
だったとしても
Even if you were, you
世界
would
で
be.
ただ一つの
You would be mine
僕だけ
alone.
の家具だ
The only furniture for me in the world.
生涯
I want you to be
僕と寄り
close to
添って
me
ほしい
all my life.
僕には君が
I need you
永
always,
遠に必要だ
forever.
庄司様
焼けるわ
I'm jealous.
口説きならうちの人を超
This
え
was past my husband is smooth talking.
若さですな
That is youth.
た愛が強さ
Love is
なら
strength.
坊やは
Then
どう
why
して
are
そん
you
なに
so
ひ弱な
weak,
の
boy?
その弱さがつまり
Must mean that your
君の
love is
愛の
also
程
weak.
度なわ
That
け
weak,
ね
then I guess.
婚約者への愛もひ弱
Your love for your fiance is
両親
weak.
のあっけない
Your
死に様も
parents'
ひ弱
disappointingly quick deaths were
君の人
weak.
生は
Everything
何
about
か
your
ら何
love.
までひ弱だわ
シャノンは
Shannon
僕に
taught
愛
me
と
about
強さを
love
教
and
えてくれ
strength.
たもし君が
If you insist
僕の
upon
強さだけで
measuring my love
シ
for
ャノンへの
Shannon
愛
by
を
my
確かめよう
strength
という
alone,
のなら僕の愛を教
then let me
えよ
teach you about my love.
言うわね
Nice word.
なるほど
Now I get it.
何度も蹴り
So
倒
you
さ
say
れて
that
転
you,
がされそれでも立
so
ち
you
上が
say
るの
that
が
the way you
シャノ
can
ンから
still
もらっ
stand
た
up
強さ
after
だ
being kicked down so many times is the strength you received from Shannon.
なら
In that
あっけなく
case,
殺
what
され
did
た
you
あんたの
receive
お
from
父
your
さんとお
mother
母
and
さんから
father
は
who were killed
何をも
without
ら
a
ったの
fight? Suddenly there was a blackout. Outside?
違うこれは
This is... The thing blocking Gap vision was the bottom of George's shoe.
側頭蹴り
Psychic.
尾骨骨折
Nasal bone fracture. It has stopped right in front of the tip of Gap's nose.
母さんにもらったものは
The thing I got from my
この
mother
蹴りだ
was this kick. After several moments delay, Gap jumped back. Of course, it was too late. If George hadn't stopped, he probably would have caused exactly the damage he announced.
そして父さんにもらったのが忍耐
What I
力
got from my father is patience. Anger with a low boiling point isn't something to be truly feared. True anger is cultivated through patience.
君の暴力的意思表示は理
I
解した
understand your declaration of violent
ま
intent.
た
I also understand your defamation of my fiance and my parents.
そして
And you have no
それを
intention of
撤回する気が
retracting
ない
any of these?
君の攻撃は
I have
もう
sufficient
十分に理
understanding
解
of
した
your attacks now.
そろそろいいかな
If you're ready,
反撃し
may
て
we fight back?
ほざく
Enough of your slick talk, bucko. A pitch black hole opened in its mouth at George's feet. But George rapidly opened his legs, straddling the hole. The same move wouldn't work again. It was an extremely light dodge, and the upper part of his body didn't even quiver.
忍耐とは熱
Patience
くならず
means not
冷静に
losing
相
your
手の
cool
出方を研
and
究する
instead
こと
composedly researching your opponent's
何の
moves.
ために
For
決ま
what
ってるじゃない
purpose?
か
Isn't it
わかる
obvious?
かい
Do you know?
わかんないわ
No, I don't.
反撃して
It's to
き
counter,
っちり借りを
to
返
give
し
back exactly what
二
you
度と
got,
ちょっかいを出
to
した
make
くな
them
いと
never
思わ
want to mess with you again,
ず涙と鼻
to
水で
make
顔
them
面を
cover
ぐちゃ
their
ぐちゃに
face
して
in tears and
そ
snot
れを
and
拭
forget
う
to
のを
wipe
忘
it
れ
off,
て額を地面にこすりつけ
to
て
make them want to rub their foreheads on the ground and apologize over and over, to completely, perfectly, thoroughly
叩きのめすためだよ
pulverize them until they can't get up. George dashed. Pits opened one after another, but George wouldn't step in them again. And because she persisted in that move, Gap was captured for a second time.
後ろ回し蹴り
Reverse
顎部
roundhouse,
骨折
jaw fracture. It was stretched out more forcefully and beautifully than Gap's had been. Of course, while it centered directly on Gap's face, it stepped a hair's breadth away. Perhaps she couldn't rely on pitfalls at this close range. Gap kicked at George's shins as a diversion. In the instant of weakness where he had tried to deal with that, she aimed a kick at his stomach. It was a B-kick stab like her stiletto heel, but it sliced through the air where George was no longer.
上段かかと落とし
High axe kick,
鎖骨骨折
collarbone fractured. Madonna, momento shadow in George. From beside Gap, George coldly announced that his foot still raised. If that monarch heel had been swung down, a collarbone fracture would have been an understatement.
こいつ至近じゃ
Stronger than me? At close range?
距離を
Distance. She jumped backwards to gain a large distance. She jumped and leapt and even backflipped, increasing the distance between them. This should have been magnificent, but for some reason it looked very similar to the moment of a small, scared animal. If she opened the distance, she could fight the range that was a specialty, using a mixture of pitfalls and kicking techniques.
バカが
You fool.
私を倒せるチャンス
Regret the arrogance of
三度も逃した
passion
傲慢
on 3 chances to
奈
defeat
落の
me
底で後
in
悔
the
な
depths
さい
of the abyss. Gap landed beautifully and tried to aim at a pitfall when a razor-sharp wind cut her bangs. Yes, cut them. E la Madonna, and twice. This time he didn't stop at a hair's breadth away, but scattered her bangs with its air pressure.
アルマーダ・コン・マルテーロ
Armada con martello.
第一撃で
Orbital
眼底骨折
blowout fracture with the first
第
strike.
二撃で
Cerebral
No
contusion with the second strike. Qua stiamo arrivando ai livelli di Kinzo che butta giù la gente con il vento generato dal mantello. Cioè qua le ha tagliato i capelli con il calcio. Oh no, cazzo. Gap was too shocked to speak. Jod had closed all the distance in an instant and let off a fearsome, nimble mid-air double kick. Furthermore, with the accuracy and the edge of a razor, yet had cut nothing more than a few of her bangs. I learned the power of kicks from karate, speed from taekwondo, and freedom of range for capoeira. E le tre cose che studiava Eva. Mother was always trying something new, but it was very educational being able to study their various merits. Didn't you hit? Because I'm a woman? You spoke of force as a monarch's third power. Looks like you're still mistaking the meaning of that force. In this situation, force doesn't mean hastily wielding violence. It refers to a deterrent, the knowledge that if someone opposes the monarch, that person won't get away unharmed. Deterrent. At that point, that was the point. That was why all of George's attacks up until then had been stopped just before the blow. These bare misses, which were more difficult than hitting directly, had all been performed so splendidly, and one of them would probably have crushed Gap in a single hit if George had wished it. He was deliberately not doing that. You said yourself, right? Force is the power to rule. If you destroy your opponent with force, you won't be able to rule them, right? A monarch's force is something that is only shown. It does not destroy. He makes others submit and adds them to his own fortune. If you black out on me, I won't be able to guide. You won't be able to guide me to where everyone is being held. Gap had admitted. She had to admit that George understood force in the truest sense. Take me over to where everyone is. I would advise against resisting. I won't hold back anymore. Sorry, Lydia. I borrow your troops. This guy's too much for me alone to handle. As three large large black hole. Large pitch black hole opened in the sky. Tung, three muscular goats attendants fell out. They surrounded George. Reinforcements? I wonder if I should take this to mean that you retract your statement about me being weak. I admit it. I made light of your power. Power of humans. No, this is the strength of a man who has come to know love. Tripe. How could you say stuff like that with a straight face? Come, ghosts. Crush this man into meatballs. These goats are stupid, but it looks like they at least have power. I'll make it so that even your fiancé won't be able to recognize your corpse. You refuse to surrender and intend to continue fighting? Understood. I proclaim and enforce you will receive real harm proportional to your own attacks. If you plan on attacking me, I suggest you prepare to receive a great deal of damage. When George proclaimed that, a faint red magic circle rose up around him, but it seems that George couldn't see it. However, Gap, being a demon, could. Magic? Why does this guy have a defensive barrier? And what's more, is specialized for counterattacks? Is this what you meant by deterrent? Ho fatto un achievement perché ho fatto 30.000 clicchi. Sì. From a demon perspective, this might have been magic, but in George's eyes it was determination. It was absolute determination that would show no mercy to anyone who wished for further fighting, and forced them to prepare for a significant counterattack. Absolute determination becomes magic. Ronove had been accurately blocking Jessica's fist with his shield, but something felt odd. Even though he was certainly stopping the blow with the shield, he felt his arm beginning to strain and ache. All physical damage should have been shut off. However, the damage from her fist was gradually being transmitted into his arm and was accumulating. Ronove acted like he was composed, but this wouldn't be noticed. Not going to get worn down. What's wrong, old man? Starting to get a little tough. No matter how much you attack, it is useless. Why can't you understand that you cannot break my shield? Saying that is not going to stop me from hitting you. No matter how hard someone's art is, words are going to get through them a little bit each time, and eventually you can make a crack. I believe it. I believe there is no such thing as useless effort in this world. Isn't that why we live? To the fullest? If words get through eventually, then the same goes for fists. I won't even know the meaning of the... I don't even know the meaning of the words giving up. These words were probably aimed at Canon. Canon had technically rejected Jessica's words, but Jessica knew that no matter how obstinate his heart was, those words would eventually soak through. And she believed that surely the day would come when he would understand her heart and stop calling himself furniture and disparaging himself, and step out of his new life. So Jessica wouldn't give up. She wouldn't lose heart. Sounds dumb as hell, huh? I bet it makes no sense to a guy like you, does it? See, a girl in love doesn't even think about giving up because it's useless. At that time, Ronove certainly saw. He saw the red-hot burning glow of light surrounding Jessica's fists. This is problematic. Enchanted Holiday. Permeation upgrade. That would be troublesome. With her relentless fist and determination dwelled the power to succeed no matter what. From a demon's perspective, that was magic. Absolute determination becomes magic. See? Nothing useless about it. Naku. My fists are making it through, aren't they? You're guarding your arm, old man. It seems I will have to get a little more serious. It appears it is as you said. In this world, nothing is useless. That's right. If you give up something saying something is useless, then when your life is free. If you give up saying something useless, that's when your life is freaking over. You'll get through them. Definitely. I'm an idiot, so this is the only way I can live. But even so, I believe that one day I'll definitely be able to teach Canon-kun all about the world. So I'm going to buckle. I'm not gonna buckle in a place like this. I'll definitely defeat you and save everyone. Damn it. Just open a hole. Kraus was repeating his useless effort in trying to somehow open a hole between the metal bars. Useless. There's nothing useless. There's nothing useless. The lookout goats have been swallowed up by those black pits and disappeared. Now was their do or die chance. It was their only chance to break the bars. Stop! It's impossible, Kraus. We can't do anything about them with our bare hands. Let us look for a tool. Don't waste time on the impossible. If you give up saying it's useless, it's all over. That's what my daughter said. Even if it's impossible for my body, as long as a small person like Shannon or Canon could make it through. At this stage, action is more important than wrecking our brains. Let's put our strength together. I'll join you too. Canon-kun, you're a boy. Lend me a hand. Canon-kun? Cosa fa? Kraus-sama, please stand back. What are you thinking of? It's alright, is it, Nathan? If we try struggling just one more time. Yeah. I'll struggle once more as well. But not once. Over and over again. Jessica's voice had reached Canon. It had certainly permeated into his stone-cold heart. And George's voice had reached Shannon. If the love they had shown was embodied by strength, she would have responded in the same way. An incredible metallic sound rang out. The first flash cut horizontally through several of the metal bars, and with the next flash, they were cut through horizontally again, causing them to clatter to the ground like bamboo shoots cut by a sword. Kraus, Kiri, and Nanjo didn't even have a clue about what had just happened. Dr. Nanjo, which way down the corridor goes to the mansion? Yes, it's to the left at the back. To the left at the back. Let's go, everyone. We'll be noticed by Virgilia-sama anytime now. What in the world are you? We're... When Canon hung his head a little and faltered, Shannon slapped his shoulder, smiled and spoke. We are human. Virgilia-sama! Response from warning network. Jailbreak! Those ghost guards are in there for some reason. What? Why? It's Gap, isn't it? Taking my summons without asking. Gap. Confirming rule of engagement. Request permission to fire at escapees. Ma'am. Do it. Kill them. Mi piace che c'è grrr. Understood, ma'am. 45, 410. Preparing for sniping pursuit combat. Ammo type, guided cluster rounds. Virgilia-sama. The escape prevention barrier. Yes, right. I won't let you escape from here. I bit my tongue saying gap. As they ran down by the underground passage, the pair in front of them was once again blocked by metal bars. The door was, of course, locked. However, there was no problem for them now. Canon, more metal bars. We need you. Yes, person. That is incredible, though. I wonder if you could tell me what kind of principle he works on. I'm not interested in principles. The only thing that's important is that we can sever metal bars and we can escape from here. Don't get distracted, Canon-kun. Do it. Leave it to me. Canon sliced the metal bars again with a red trail. But there was a harsh, strange noise, and only a slight scratch was left on the metal bars. Goodness. Jesus, sturdy. No. It's enchanted. It's Virgilia-sama's magic lock. Can you cut through it? Of course. It will take time. I'll give you 3 minutes. After taking a deep breath and focusing his concentration, Canon once again extended his sword that trailed red. When he pressed it against the metal bars, sparks sprayed, almost as though he was burning through them with a blowtorch. Looks like cutting is possible, but it's going to make us work for it.
旦那様
Kasama,
敵に捕捉されまし
we
た
are being locked onto by the
下がって
enemy.
ください
Please move back.
追って
Pursue
誰も
us.
来てないわよ
There's no one coming.
私の後ろに下がってくだ
Please
さい
get behind me.
狙われてます
They are aiming at us.
45データ治療
45, data
標
received.
的は捕捉
Targets
地形型
acquired.
修正
Correcting for
射
terrain.
撃曲線形成
Forming
勢力補正完
firing
了
curve. Control point adjusted.
410データリン
Data
ク
link to 410.
410データ治療
410, data
危
received.
険区域確認
Checking danger
問
zone.
題なし
No
ダブル
problems.
師団装填
Double O.
48発
Lound,
個別誘導
loading
F&F
45 sub-rounds. Individual forming FNF.
収束誘導弾
Guided
準備
cluster
完了
rounds ready.
45射撃準備完了
Firing preparations
収
complete.
束誘導弾
Guided cluster rounds loaded.
410
410.
射撃
Firing. A golden arrow that sparkled gold was fired, leaving a gold trail steaming behind. He drew a curve, went through a door, through a keyhole, down the stairs, towards the underground path at full speed.
何か光りましたぞ
Something
本番
shown.
の矢はシールドで
Can
防げ
block
な
the
い
golden arrow with a
カノン
shield.
君
Cannon
迎撃態
call.
勢
Kun, prepare to
リンクしよ
intercept.
う
Let's link.
ゲートキーパー了解
Io mi ero dimenticato questa cosa. Gatekeeper, understood.
姉さんと一緒に戦う
It's
の
been
は
a
久しぶ
long
りだ
time since I fought alongside you, Nesan.
動じらないでよ
Don't screw up. Yeah,
本気でやる
I'll give you everything I've got.
なら問題ない
Then we'll be fine. Cannon stopped cutting the bars and stood in front of Shannon. Behind him, Shannon closed her eyes, concentrating her mind, focusing deep into the darkness of the underground path. A guided cluster round is a special kind of arrow made up of 48 sub-rounds bound together. It explodes mid-flight and divides into 45 mini arrows. 48 mini arrows. The strength of each individual one is low, but they pierce through all shields and possess total lethality against ground troops. On top of that, each of the 48 possesses autonomous guidance towards their individual targets. It's shown.
熱した
It's divided.
収束誘導弾
Checking guided cluster round
師
division.
団
46, 7, 8,
48
48
48
sub-rounds.
全弾捕
All
捉
locks acquired.
迎撃完成
Interruption
Cannon data
control.
link.
Data link to Canon.
カノンデータ
Canon.
治療
Data received.
姉さんの能
Your
力は
ability
す
is
ごいな
incredible, Nisa.
48発全部見
I
え
can
る
see all
迎
48.
撃優先順位に注意
Observe the interception priority and ordering.
姉さんを信じて
Trust your
も
Nisa.
ちろんさ
Of
僕
course.
は目を
I
開ける
don't
必
even
要
need
さ
to
え
open
ない
my eyes.
迎撃開始
Commence interception.
はあ
目標健在
The target's in hand.
迎撃されま
It was intercepted. Nihya?
48発
All 48?
シャノンとカ
Shannon
ノンは
and
もと
Canon
も
were
と一組
originally
の家具
a
ですからね
furniture pair, you see?
揃うと手強い
They're
こと
strong when they're together.
あいたたたこれこんな家になっちゃうかしら
If it's going to become a mouth ulcer.
落ち着け
Calm
再装
down.
填
Reload.
弾種を変更
Updating ammo
精
type.
密高速狙撃弾
Precision light speed sniper
精
rounds.
密狙撃戦準備
Prepare for precision sniping.
そりゃいいね
Sounds good. Yeah. Impossible to intercept super high speed
ゲー
rounds.
トキーパーごときじゃ防
Impossible
御
to
不能
defend
だね
against for a mere gatekeeper. Yeah.
精密狙撃戦了解
Precision sniper
精
understood.
密射撃用データ収
Commencing
集開始
all collection of precision firing data. What in the world was that just now?
安心して
Don't worry.
私にもさっ
I'm
ぱり
as
よ
clueless as you.
一つわかるのは
All I know
二
is
人に
that
頼らなきゃ
if
死
we'd
ん
be
でた
dead if we hadn't relied on those two.
カノン君ありがとう
Thanks.
鉄格子に戻って
Go back to the metal
多
bars.
分次のは迎
Next,
撃
we
でき
probably
ないか
come
も
a shot that you can't intercept.
そんな攻撃をどう防
How
ぐ
do we block against such an attack?
打たせません
We don't let them
カノン
shoot.
君
Canon
レッスンボブ
Spirit particle combat. forgot yourself. After those words, Canon closed his eyes tightly and clenched his teeth. With Shannon at the center, a pressure and impact blasted out that could only be perceived by those not human. Huh? Fire system error? No good. Rebooting. Huh? Spirit wave jamming. Particle particle protection. Move it. What are you doing? Cover your ears, 45. An unseen, unheard impact blasted towards the Siesta Sisters. 00 and 410 crashed down, covering their ears, but 45 didn't make it in time. Still standing bolt upright, her eyes rolled inside her head. Thank you. 45 damage. Her compiler engine's gone kaput. Oh, ughiato, ho letto. The noise is horrible for me too. 45, 410, 00, damage, abandoning, sniping. Came straight to the link. To reboot. Raising their spirit's particle sensitivity for the precision sniping had backfired. They had taken a full blunt of the spirit particle shock wave Shannon had released. It was not only 45 but who had been directly hit, but also 00 and 410 who had been linked with her were taken down. Are you alright? Can I make you some delicious black tea later? Okay? Hold on. Oh no, all together. My apologies, man. We'll reboot. Please wait for 100 seconds. All of the Siesta Sisters collapsed. They would probably get up eventually, but it looked like it would be hard for them to return to the battle lines for a while. So, Furniture was able to repel weapons, even for but a moment. Oh, ha fatto la faccia. I see, the plot which entertained the child truly are filled with unexpected turns. Virgilia tore the air with a large motion as though opening a door. Come, arise, ghost attendants. It's time for war? Kill and capture the escapees. Corpses are fine. We can just... Fuck! Fammi leggere cosa ho perso. We can just... revive them right away. A gold-colored door opened in the air, and countless giant goats with muscular bodies picked their faces out. Sas, come now, hurry. There are 5 escapees, so the fastest 5 of you win. There will be a wonderful prize. Come on now, go for it. Go for it. Virgilia clapped her hands, urging them on. Prize? After glancing at each other at those words, the ghosts rushed to the door at once, trying to get out, making the exit as tight a squeeze as the trains during the communals rush. Each wanted to get out first, but none of them could get out. Virgilia had her head in frustration. By the time Canon had managed to cut just enough bars to make a gap that could be slipped through. It proved to be a bit of work for Kraus, who was large as he was, and Nanjo, whose waist was nearly his downfall, but even so, they all managed to make it through. But the relief at getting through was short-lived. Immediately another set of bars blocked the way in front of them.
厳重ね。
The security
よ
sure
っぽ
is
どここ
tough.
の人を逃がしたく
I
なかっ
bet
たん
they
でしょう。
really didn't want the people in here to escape.
カノンすまん
Can
がもう一度
sorry,
頼む
but I'll have to ask
辛
you
いだ
again.
ろうが頼む
Sure, it's tough on you, but please. There was sweat on Canon's forehead. You could tell at a glance that cutting those metal bars, which had been made even more solid by magic, was exhausting him considerably.
お任せを、旦那様。
Leave it to me, Kraus-sama.
お前にしかできん
You only can do
Dokatano.
it. Can do it. Please, we're counting on you. Only he could do it.
ブレンニュー
Holding tightly onto those words, Canon concentrated his mind again and once more set himself to the task of cutting the bars.
後方敵が来ます
Endless enemies are coming from behind, multiple.
今度は
At
私
this
たちも
time,
わかる
even we can tell.
すごい地響きね。
The ground is really shaking. I can tell that some horrible monsters are rushing at
ご安
us.
心を
Don't worry.
今抜けた鉄格子を
I'll
私
seal
が
the
魔法
bars
陣
we
に封鎖
just
します
came through with a magic lock.
ヤギたちごときに
Ghosts
破れ
won't
ま
be
せん
able to break it. Shannon had her hand out towards the bars they had come through, but she stopped right away.
どうかしましたか
What is it?
ワルギリア様が
Chia-sama started neutralizing the spirit wave jamming.
破られるとまずい
It,
シエスタ姉妹の再起
it'll
動後にイ
be
ニシア
bad
チブ
if
を奪わ
it's
れます
broken. We'll lose the initiative once the sisters are rebooted. Sister
可
sister
愛
are
いウサ
rebooted.
ギたちをいじめてくれたお
Make you
返しは
pay
たっぷりと
I'll
さ
make
せ
you
てい
pay
ただ
in
きます
full
よ。
for bullying these cute rabbits.
この小賢しい霊視
If
で優
you're
位に
trying
立
to
とう
gain
と
the
いうなら
advantage with those
それを
crafty
丸
little
ごと
spirit
はって
particles,
私
I'll
が
tear
奪って
of
あげ
that
る。
off and rob you of them.
姉さんは霊波妨害
Listen,
に集中して
concentrate on the spirit wave
あの
jamming.
ヤギたちに
The gap
そ
in the
の
bars
鉄
is
格
too
子
narrow
は
for
狭
the
すぎる
goats.
しばらくは食い止めてくれるはず
Should hold them back for a while.
何を言っているかさ
I
っぱ
don't
り
have
だ
a clue what you're saying, but
だいぶやばいってことだけは
we
理
at
解で
least
きた
got the point that it's something pretty bad. Kiria picked up a metal bar and that Cannon just cut. Kraus had no weapon, but he rubbed his fists, and the two of them glared into the depths of the underground passage where the shaking was coming from.
この鉄格子で
I
遮
believe
る
this
も
set
の
of
はおしま
bars
い
is
の
the final thing blocking the way.
ここから屋敷までどのくら
How
いあるん
far
で
is
す
the mansion from here?
かなり歩く
Quite
道
a
は
walk.
平坦だが
Path is even,
30分は
but
歩
I
いて
seem to remember walking for 30 minutes.
全力疾走なら
If
そ
we
の
ran
半分
flat
ってことだ
out, that'd be half the time. Sì, ma povero Nando, lo fai correre a quell'età con quella corporatura, poverino. They couldn't tell for sure which, since they didn't have the three-sided mirror, but there was no guarantee that George and Jessica could hold out against demon opponents for all that
歩
time.
く2倍の速度で
If
走
we
れば
ran,
15分
if we ran twice the walking speed, it'd be
さらにそ
15
の2倍で
minutes.
走れば8分を切
Running
る
at twice that speed again would make it 8 minutes.
さらにその倍の全
If
力
we
疾走
sprint
な
flat
ら5分
out
かか
at
る
double that speed again, won't even take 5.
もったいない
No sweat.
むちゃくちゃな計算ですな
Infatti, what an unreasonable calculation.
ですが
But calculations in dire emergencies too tend to be that way. Sì, muore proprio.
旦那様方
My sincere apologies,
あとを
everyone.
頼みます
The rest will be upon you. Up to you. Vabbè.
任せたまえ
Leave it to us.
カノンは1秒でも
Canon,
早く
you
鉄
cut
格
the
子を
bars as fast as you
シャノ
can.
ンはワルギリア
Shannon,
とかいう
you
魔女への
concentrate
妨害
on
に専
jamming
念
this
したまえ
witch called Virgilia or
追
whatever.
っては私とキリ
Kiria,
そんで防
Sun
ぐ
and I will be defending against the pursuers. Then the roars of beasts rang out from the darkness, and numerous fiery, glowing, bright red eyes appeared. The goats rushed towards them with thunderous force, were several levels more massive than the guards had been. Mamma mia, ancora più grossi. The tremors they created were almost like an earthquake. The power and terror was tremendous, but Kiria instead laughed with relief. Those massive bodies wouldn't be able to go through the gap in the bars. Uno sprite nuovo anche per le goats, wow. The group of goats crashed into the metal bars with a terrific sound like that of a train colliding with a dead end. Clumps of dirt fell here and there from the ceiling, and you could tell that the metal bars had buckled inwards. The force of their charge must have been no different from a train. If the metal bars hadn't been there, they would have undoubtedly have swallowed the 5 of them up and crushed them in an instant. When the group of goats pressed up against the metal bars realized that the 5 were right in front of them, they let out a terrible howl, trying to intimidate the 5. Although it was hard to tell whether that really was intimidation or because of the pain from being pushed and shoved, one of the goats among them figured out that he just needed to do something about the metal bars and grabbed 2 of them with his massive arms and began bending them as though opening some double doors. Kiria sharply jabbed her metal pole at the gold vitals. The goat let out a roar of anguish. It probably hurt a lot, but that was all. Ho capito la reference, gioco. It wasn't enough to bring it down. Krasan! Still holding the stuck-in metal pole, Kiria relinquished the opposite tip to Kraus. Kraus ran with all of his might. Kraus ran there with all of his might, leapt into the air and kicked it in with all of his weight and kicking power combined. All of that destructive power was focused on that single pole, drilling it in. Please. Guarda che fa roasting. Nanjo fa roasting. Cioè, Kiria che ha infilzato la goat in un punto vitale. Kraus che ha preso la corsa, tipo salto in alto, cazzo di capriola, calcio rotante nella sbarra di metallo conficcata tipo in qualche punto qua del petto, e l'ha schiacciata dentro e arriva Nanjo con il roast alla fine. Are you alright? Please don't drop the infected area. I shall prescribe some medicine later. Take care. Madonna. As the goat had taken a pile bunker to its vital ride with teary eyes, it nodded its head. It looked like our link isn't that bad either. We can't let Shannon-chan and Canon-kun beat us. Naturally, we are a loving family after all. We can take them if it's 2-on-1. Next, the one on the right. Roger. You seem like a great wife. Then that's Rudolph. I'm starting to think he grumbled a little too much. Huh? You have to tell me about that later. Rudolph-san, it's no use you turning white in heaven. It's too late for excuses. Basta. Finito questo, ed è così che finito questo episodio, Jessica e Butler divennero fratelli. The goat's massive body sank into the rose bush. Even taking into account that a leg's power is 3 times that of an arm's, this strength surpassed common sense. That massive body flying up and through the air from being kicked in the chin was too epic. Even George seemed a little surprised. To think that my kick works on monsters too. I'm astonished. Because of your counter-attacking type barrier. The attack power that grazes you is added onto your own. The superhuman power of those monsters have been added to your kicks. George Ultra Ego. I don't really get it, but isn't that just perfect for me? If you're going to attack me, no matter who you are, you should be prepared for a counterattack of equal measure. Non-aggressive defense. That's exactly my policy. That's why Gap couldn't easily touch him. The counter-attacking type barrier had no defensive power. However, because of its counter-attacking characteristic, it could be useful in defense by making the opponent hesitate to attack. The goats were foolish, so they attacked without worrying, but the effects was by being realized to the full against Gap. Oddio, che spavento. Pensavo venisse da fuori. Ho detto che cazzo è una sirena. Bombardamento. These guys are rather dull. And your power is even. It's better to be of a smaller build. He slightly dodged the log-like arm. Then that arm touched the barrier that protected George. It left off a strong red light. At the tip of the foot that was counterattacking gained the same shine, and the superhuman power of the goat was added to George's own. È vero, è vero. Ma riavvista la voglio vedere. The second goat fell forwards and floated into the air for a second. Then George's next roundhouse kick missed right over the falling goat head. For an instant, the goat hoped to get away with its life. But no! A heel was dropped onto the back of his head, and he was forced to kiss the ground. Going from a high roundhouse kick into the Neri Chagi is pretty basic, right? It connects pretty often if you don't overuse it. Serious problem. Demons, witches, get real. The rulers of Rokkenjiman are the Yushiromiya family. I will teach you that. I will teach that. Ah, madonna, mi mancano le parole, non riesco a capire le frasi. I will teach that to you with every ounce of strength in my body. You. The only way to finish off George now that his body was wrapped up in the counterattack type barrier was not to allow him to counterattack. Next time she sucked him into the abyss, she would have to kick and drop him until she kicked him to death. But George had already perfected reading the faint warning signs that told of the appearance of gap pitfalls. If he managed to jump over the next pit, then this time he would probably pulverize Gap's head with a whirlwind-like kick without holding back in the slightest, just as it has been done to his parents. She was able to envision that scene vividly. It was far too late, but Gap cursed Kinzo all the same for calling her out to this ridiculous island. Ronove finally started using both of his hands to form a shield. Without a more powerful shield, he wouldn't be able to completely block Jessica's fist anymore. The enchantment on Jessica's fist grew the more she fought. The permeation upgrade had already stacked several times, and those fists had also been given an impact upgrade, a piercing upgrade, and a speed upgrade, making them fists worthy to fight on par with a demon. Jessica Beast. Abbiamo George Ultra Ego, Jessica Beast e Maria Ultra Istinto, tipo. What's wrong? Starting to get tired? You're getting old slow. No. Your movements, thoughts, and kinetic vision have been exponentially enchanted. My movements have not changed from the beginning. Your movements are beginning to capture me. And you still won't fight back? This is the style which I insist upon. However, I cannot allow things to continue as they are. It's about time for me to get serious and end this. Ronove's face turned into an expression he had never shown before. It was truly demonic, and to Jessica's eyes full of respect. Because it was an expression only shown to enemies strong enough to make him get serious. Black Ronove. What the heck? What the heck? With a whole body gesture that you couldn't call elegant, Ronove set up a shield with all of its strength, the size and thickness of a wall. Its sturdiness was nothing like a shield. It was literally a wall. On top of that, with all of Ronove's magical power, it pushed Jessica back bit by bit. Did he plan on pushing her back against the wall and crushing her to death? Jessica tried to break through the wall with both fists, but it was solid. Without any exaggeration, it was solid. Call this serious? No problem. I'll break right through it. I will not let you this time. This wall is somewhat different. Here, allow me to enchant it as well. Ronove made magic signs with his fingers, almost like a ninja. The wall glowed red for just an instant, and became imbued with some kind of ominous power. Almost immediately, Jessica also gained a first-hand understanding of this. Every time she pounded her fist against the wall, pain rebounded upon her as though glass fragments had scattered and hit all over her body. I upgraded with an attack reactive armor, an exceptional item which will decrease the force of your attacks by counterbalancing them. And you can even counterattack with the reactive fragments. You are perfectly welcome to keep punching it, but doing so will affect you as well. So it's an endurance test between me and your wall? Fine by me. You will fall to your knees first, or will you be pushed into the wall first? Allow me to observe. Or I break through it and smash that whole wall along with your face. Ever think about that? Just watch me! Without hesitation, Jessica slammed both of her fists into the wall. Each time she did, a large amount of shards scattered, tormenting her body all over. Countless red cuts soon appeared all over her body. She grimaced at intense pain, but her eyes were burning with fighting spirit. Her lips curved in a grin exactly the opposite of pain. Kanon, you done it. We are all right, but I can't say the same for the bars holding those guys in check. Just a little more. There is no end to these guys. These bars might break just from them shoving each other. The metal bars creaked under the strain of the group of goats. Several arms grabbed the bars, twisting them with superhuman strength. However, some bars were even being pulled in opposite direction by different hands. Apparently, they were really stupid. The way those countless hands were grabbing the metal bars happened to match up by chance. Several hands grasped two metal bars neatly put their power together and pulled the bars to the left and right, creating an opening. The incredible sound of metal bending could be heard, and the gap was getting larger bit by bit. They attacked the arms of the goats one by one, but they weren't getting anywhere. They couldn't stop the gap from expanding left and right. A loud metallic sound came from behind them. Kanon had finally finished cutting. Quickly! Kiryu-san, ladies first. You next, Dr. Nanji. Rao-san, please leave this place to me. Kanon's red sword, with which he had cut the metal bars, disappeared. Sorry. We entered Virgilia-sama's spirit particle combat area of influence. Our magic power is being neutralized. Che questa è nuova. Purgatory Catastrophe Rhapsody. Oh. I'm impressed that you put up such a fight against a great witch like me. You can no longer use your magic in that underground passage. A magic circle column drew complex magical formulae around Virgilia. With such fully fledged magic being used, Shannon Power couldn't even compete. On the contrary, it was surprising that she had withstood as much as she did. Spirit particle superiority ensured. Come, Justice Sister. Now it's your turn. Wait, are you still rebooting? It's so bad at waking up these days. My apologies, ma'am. We're all different versions. Why is it that the shortcuts and pull-down menus get all screwed up every time we change versions? Yeah. Did not shut down successfully last time. Administrator privileges? What is all that nonsense? Calling Imperial Guards troubleshooting. What? You won't tell us without a user code? 45 is in control of the user code, yeah? All I can hear is 999. Have her write it on some paper. Her language support system hasn't come back up, so she can't even write. Yeah. You take your time fixing yourselves. I'll calm myself. È diventato veramente un anime. The narrow underground passage was packed with ghosts. Truly like a commuter train in the morning. Virgilia was again in disbelief at this congestion. What are you doing? Huh? You want to be the first because you want to win the prize? You're getting in each other's way because you don't want the others to steal the prize from you. You stupid goats! I'm going myself, so open the way. You don't want to? Virgilia-sama is trying to steal the prize? Why are you forming a scrum? So crammed and tight. When this became a goat only car. Whoever just touched my butt, get off at the next train station. What do you want? Come this way, you say? The 5 people in Kraus' group dashed through the passageway with all of their strength. They couldn't afford to dawdle around underground, and they had to quickly join up with the children on the surface. Once everyone was together, there would no longer be anything to fear. Just then, a terrible rumble started closing in from behind. Had the pursuers finally made it through the metal bars? But they couldn't see anyone when they turned around. But that rumble and the dirt falling here and there was the seal. But that rumble and the dirt falling here and there from the ceiling grew closer and closer, finally catching up with them and even going past them. It almost felt like they had been passed by ghosts. An instant after they thought that nothing had happened, the ceiling in front of them fell in and a single goat stood in their path. Virgilia was sitting on its shoulder. The wise child knew a shortcut. What a good kid. You get first prize. Later, I'll give you some of my homemade mackerel curry. Maybe it really was happy even to receive such a dubious prize. The massive goat showed its joy by putting its hand together and wiggling. Virgilia leapt down, laughing that now it is finally checkmate. It's no good. Our magic has been completely killed. It's too early to give up. Even without magic, we have our bodies. Don't be ridiculous. There's no way we could fight a monster like that without a strange power. Step back, children. Handle them somehow. So you escape past that monster while I'm keeping him busy. I won't let you. Virgilia clapped her hands and purple magic barrier appeared behind her, stalling even the faint hope that Kraus had been betting on. Still a chance. When Jessica fought, I must do the same.
本気なの？
You serious?
無理よ。
It's not possible, not against that massive monster.
むちゃくちゃだ。
Don't be
クロ
absurd.
スさん、
Kraus
他の
son,
方法を考えましょう。
let us think of another way.
思いついたら提案して
If
く
you
れ
think
た
of something, I'm open to suggestions. Till then, it looks like I have to manage something.
さ
Come on,
下がりたま
get back.
気をつ
Be
けて。
careful.
おやおや、クラウ
My,
ス。
my,
あなた
Kraus.
一人で
You're
この
going
子
to
と
find
戦う
this
つもり
child
ですか？
alone.
わから
You
ぬ
never know.
戦いには
In a fight, it's always
流れ上
possible
が
to
り
get
の
in a
一発だ
lucky
って
shot.
あり得る。
まぐれでも
You
勝て
think
る
you
つも
can
りと
even
思い
win
ます
with a
か？
fluke?
身の程知らずな
Allow
あ
me
な
to
たの
explain the
ために
situation for you,
私
since
が
you
状
clearly
況を
don't know your
整理して
place.
差し上げましょう。
何
What?
あなたが
Assuming you
100% の
were to
力を
wield
発揮したとして、
100% of your
あな
strength,
たの戦闘
your
力は
power
先
level
生
is almost 6. Dragon Ball, Dragon
対
Ball.
してこの子の
In
戦闘力は
comparison, this
1000
child has a power level of
つ
1000.
まり
In
あなたが
short,
100人束になっても絶対に勝てないと
そっち
いう
なの
ことです。
in short, even if there were 100 of you, you could never win.
まあ、
Well,
確かに戦い
it's
に
true
は
that
不確
there
定
are
要素があ
uncertain
ります。
elements in a fight.
その戦闘力
I
に
will
多少
admit
の
that
倍
your
率がか
power
かる
level
ことも
has a
認め
slight
ます。
scaling factor to it.
しかしそれで
But
も
even so,
あなたがこの子
your
を倒
chances
せる
of
確率は
of defeating him are around perhaps
0.0001% というところでしょうか。
0.00001%.
お分かりかし
Do you understand?
ら？あなたには万に一つ
You
の
don't
勝ち
even
目も
have
ないという
one
ことで
in
す。
10,000 chance of victory. Such an enemy. Virgil and the goat go off together.
くそ毎日ということは
One in 10,000
配
chance.
当は
Then
1万
the
倍という
payoff
こ
will
と
be
ではない
10,000 times more, will it not? Good.
いい
A good dark
そ
horse.
ういう馬券は
I
好き
like betting tickets like that.
買いたく
Makes me want to buy them.
それを買う
But the
コインはあな
coin
た
to
の
buy that is your
命。
life.
1枚しかあ
And
りま
there's
せ
only
ん。
one of those, you know.
しかし、
Nevertheless, I can understand the feeling of wanting to entrust your fate to that miracle.
ですので、
Which is why, in praise of your courage for standing up against us without fear,
ハンデを差
I
し上
shall
げます。
give you a bit of handicap.
この子は
This
左腕
child
一
will
本
only
で
fight
戦
with
います。
with only his left arm.
まあ、それでもあなたに
Well,
負け
even
る気は
so, I can
全くしま
imagine
せ
for a
ん。
moment that he'll lose to you.
それにしても何かしら。
Seriously?
さっ
What
き
is
から
that thing that
ピン
keeps
ポン
going bing bong, bing bong? Very well.
その勝負
I'll accept that
受け
challenge.
左腕だろうとなん
Left
だろ
arm
う
or whatever else.
どうせ私
I'm
は
sure I'd
一
be
撃で
killed with one
殺され
single
る
strike in that case.
私のチャンスもまた
I also only have a
一撃しかない。
single chance at a strike.
それに全てか
I
け
can
るし
only
か
bet
ない
everything on that.
むちゃくちゃだ、クラウスさん。
That's absurd,
あんたが
Kraus-san.
ボクシングをやってた
I
こ
know
とは
that
知
you
って
used
い
to
る
do
が、
boxing, but
それでも
I
大
believe
学
that
時代のはず。
it was from your college
いやい
days.
や、
No,
仮に
even
プロの
if
ボク
you
サー
were
が
a
いた
pro
としても、
boxer here,
あんな
there's
バ
no
カ者
way you can defeat a
一撃で
monster like
倒
that
せる
with
は
just
ずも
one
ない。
strike.
リングの上での試合
That
なら
would
確
be
かにね。
true if there was a match in the ring. Kraus Nissan does have a admittedly small chance that he can set his hopes up.
彼はそれに
He's,
全て望み
he's
をかけて
setting all of his hopes on that one chance.
まさか
You aren't
し
saying
かしそんな
there's
の
no way
う
that's
まく
going
い
to
くわ
work.
旦那様
Kraus-sama,
見ていた
watch me.
一撃で
I'll
決めてや
settle
る
this with a single strike. How unwise. I know what you're gunning for. The distance between the two of them is more than 10 meters. If the goat and Kraus both step in with all of their strength to settle the fight with a single blow, their power will be double the norm. Both will crash together, so it will be a relative 4-time normal. And even if on top of that, the strike miraculously lands on a weak point for a critical hit, that will only double its power. In short, Kraus' maximum power level of 6 times 8 will cap out at 48 at most. He might just barely be able to win if he repeated that lucky shot a full 20 times. If you're killed every time you take a hit and your damage still accumulates, let's see, perhaps you could finally win when we get to episode 24. If only this series could stretch on so long. Either way, you don't even have the slightest chance of victory. Goodness, good gracious, what is that bing bong I keep hearing? I will be betting everything on a single strike. You have no reason to hold back either. Give it everything you've got. He's requesting that you go all out, pulverize him with a single all-out strike and turn him into a chunk of meat. As the goat got excited and beat its chest over and over, it took a position as though preparing for a sprint. Is this what you were hoping for? Stake your hopes on your greatest power level and despair when even that doesn't reach at all. It pinged again! Thing is really getting on my nerves. What is it? Sure, ready. The goat roared in response. Then, with a matched timing that only the men confronting each other could comprehend, the two leapt forward like bullets shot out of a gun. The men howled, collecting the strength from all over their bodies, one into one arm each. The goat's fiery glowing eyes clearly locked onto Kraus's face. He could perfectly see a vision of when he would step forwards, when he would punch through Kraus and blow him away, and when he would achieve his total victory. The long, painful days before today drifted through the goat's mind. The days of training where he spent, where his senpai has, the hard days of training where his senpais had picked on him. The faint glimpses of his senpai's warm concern during those days. And the joy of that day his power had been acknowledged and he had been accepted as one of the team. I never properly respected my parents. That's right, I never planned on washing my hands of this business when the job was over and returning to my hometown. Sorry, my little ghost sister, your Onichan caused you nothing but trouble. And I actually have a childhood friend and I'm going to marry her when I get home. No! Don't trip on so many loser flags. You can't handle that punch, dodge it! It happened that instant before the two crashed and their punches crossed. Foolish, Virgilia. It looks like you couldn't make a composed decision. You must not take that punch. Deflect it. The very instant the goat left straight and Kraus right straight crossed, the goat obeyed Virgilia's order with a super fast reflex and pulled back his straight, deflecting Kraus' punch. Yes, Virgilia's decision was probably wise. After all, the number of loser flags act as a multiplier on the opponent's power level. That was close. You've taken that punch after tripping on so many loser flags. Imagine how great of a force he would have been multiplied to. From there, smash the completely open right side of his face with a straight right. What? Promise about fighting with only your left arm. Promises are made to be broken. Yeah, tripped on another one. I'm disappointed, Virgilia. You really are. You really were lacking composure. What's that? How was I not composed by noticing beforehand and making him avoid it? What is that, Kiryu-sama? If they had crashed like that, wouldn't Kraus-sama have won? I see it. Even with 20 loser flags, that's still not enough. Kraus and the goat double rush make it ×4, and with a miracle on their side, a firm promise of a critical hit would double it again for 8 times. On top of that, a multiplier of 20 equals the number of tripped loser flags applies, making it ×160. At a glance, it looks like an incredible amplification, but even so, Kraus' power level is 6. Even multiplied by 160, it only makes for a power of 960, just a fraction below the goat's 1000.
だから冷静じゃないと言っ
That's
た
why I said you weren't
あなた
composed.
失敗した
You
わ
made a blunder.
そのまま激
They
突
had
していれ
crashed
ば
like
あ
that,
な
you
たの
could
勝
have
ちだ
won.
たとえそうだったとして
If
も
that were
この
so,
右ス
it
トレ
all
ート
comes
ク
to the
ラウス
same
の
thing.
頭を砕けば
If
同
the
じこと
right straight smashes Kraus' head,
死ね
die.
後ろ見や
Shirome Kraus.
暗い玉へ
Take this, the most powerful blow in all of
最強の
boxing,
一撃を
in all the world of boxing. Having deflected Kraus' right straight, the goat's own right straight glows into the right side of Kraus' face, which had been left open. But there he closed with a left straight from Kraus. The two punched cross and time stopped as each aimed for the face of the other.
まさかこの
To
タイ
think
ミ
that
ン
he
グで
would
相
be
打ち
brought
に持ってく
to
る
a
とは
simultaneous strike at a moment like
しか
this,
し戦闘力は
power level caps
160
out
倍
at
止まり
times
で
160,
960
making it
う
960.
ちのこの誠意
You
は
never
及び
made
ま
it
せ
to
ん
my
でしたよ
child 1000.
いやワルギリアさん
Vegeta-san,
あんたの負けだ
you've lost.
どうして
Why?
あんた
You made your goat deflect the first cross counter. Certainly, if the right straight had issued after the that were to hit, Kraus-san would probably be in pieces. However, that was crossed. That's just no good. I'm afraid this is a complete loss for your goat. A cross counter has 4 times the destructive power. This is a common knowledge in boxing. If that is deflected, then the right straight hits, then the double cross counter has 8 times the destructive power. That is also common knowledge in boxing. If that is cross, by the principle of leverage, the triple cross then multiplies the destructive power by 12. This is also painfully common knowledge in the world of boxing.
クラウスさんの戦闘力
Some
は
power
6
is level is 6.
双方2倍の踏み
Double
込みで4
multiplier
倍
from both sides rushing in makes it 4
クリティカル
times.
ヒットで
The
8倍
critical hit makes it 8.
負けフラグの立てすぎで
Up to 160
160
for tipping too many loser flags. And then 12 on top of that to the triple cross counter. That times 1,920? The power level is 11,520. Kraus Punch now had the power to easily win the Budokai tournament.
これは勝利を最後まで諦めなかったクラウスさんの執念とあんたの慢
The
心が
result
招
was
い
brought
た結果
about
だ
by Kranz persistent in not giving up on the victory until the end, and your
どちら
conceit.
が欠けても
Without either, it would never have become so powerful.
あんたよく戦ったよもう倒れ
It's
てもいい
okay,
んだ
you
ぞ
can fall now. Nanjo patted the goat on the shoulder. Oh, Nichan gave it his all. As the sparkle drops from the goat's eyes scatter, he softly topped backwards and flattened Virgilia like a pancake.
重い
You're heavy! Get off! The goat's massive body was too heavy for the slender Virgilia. She floundered around with it on top of her, but it didn't look like she would be able to escape. In that instant, the barrier Virgilia had sealed broke. Io devo andare per 15 minuti. No hard feelings, please. Underestimating the principle of leverage was the cause of your defeat.
どうしてあのカウンタ
I
ー
wonder
で
why
テ
the
コの原理
principle
が
of
働
leverage
くの
work
か
on
し
that
らね
counter.
永遠の謎
It's
だ
an
な
eternal mystery.
今のうちに逃げま
Let's
しょう
escape while we
皆さ
can.
んもお大事に
You take care, Mr. Goat. Well then, excuse us, Virgilia-sama.
ペコリ
Ma ha detto Bau. Ha detto Bau. Wait, get back here.
これどけ
Get this thing off of me.
ガブガブガブガブガブガブ
There was nothing more to block their way. They ran through the underground passage with a single-minded purpose. Jessica had finally been cornered with a wall at her back. Ronova's magic barrier was advancing bit by bit and would probably crush her against the wall before long. Considering the distance, this would probably be the final strike, the final throw of her iron fist. Jessica had dealt out many punches so far. Oh, the wall wasn't invincible. It had already started to crack, and it wouldn't be strange for it to smash at any moment. However, due to the rebounding damage, Jessica herself was in a very bad shape, with cuts all over her body. Just stop now. I don't intend to crush you. It is up to the master to decide how to deal with you. However, I do intend to put a good word for your impressive fight. Freaking... Wait. Not yet. It's not over yet. You have wounds all over your body. It's all you can imagine. It's all you can manage just to stand, is it not? It seems that you plan on putting all of your strength into this final strike. However, that final strike will instead prove fatal for you. That damage reflected by Ronove's barrier was proportional to the strength of her attacks. Jessica's all-out punch would bounce back onto her. The more all out she went, the more suicidal it would be for her. I am warning you. Stop this now. It is for your own good. Stop bluffing. Your wall is about to break. Right? The one punch hit. You think I can't feel that? That was a fact. Ronove's wall was already on the verge of breaking. And on top of that, Jessica's fist had been imbued with an unimaginable magical power by now, and their destructive power defied the imagination. If she wasn't careful, that destructive power might pierce the defensive wall, smash the Ronove as well, and then go on to expand to the size of a bedroom by connecting it to the next door. However, the damage would be rebound to Jessica as well. She wouldn't escape unharmed. I will say it one more time. Stop. I say this out of consideration for you. Shut the hell up. Say your prayers. Jessica howled, putting all of her strength and the last of her greatest destructive power into her fist, and she roared. The three goats who had been beaten down long ago. Without a single ragged breath, George cautiously closed the distance between him and Gap. He was after her. He was planning on bringing her down with a single strike. Gap was also aiming for a single strike. If she let the chance slide, this time she would be killed. Aren't you going to use your pitfalls? Even the tiny moment of weakness during the time it took to open the hole would prove fatal against George now. Gap cautiously calculated the distance and timing, but even as she did, George closed the gap between them. If you want to move forward, I will. Come on then. This kick of mine. We'll end this. The instant she noticed George's body blur, only his jacket was floating in the air. A short sound of realization entered her mind, and in that instant darkness covered her. George, with his heel swung up high, looked even like a massive dragon attacking from the sky. You fell for it. I win. Ushiromiya George. What? A gap opened a vast pit. Gap opened a vast pit with her in the center and swallowed up George along with herself. The two were swallowed up by the pit and spat out from the ceiling of the harbor. But that was what Gap had been after, so she alone landed lightly, but there was another pit in George's landing spot. Got you. It's been fun, dying. Could be a waste for someone as good as you to end up as the Ushiromiya family had. I'll eat you up right here, right now. George once again fell from the ceiling of the arbor. He had probably been dropped at the same distance as falling off a roof of a two-story building. In midair, he couldn't control his posture in any way. It was impossible to resist or defend or avoid. As Gap spun like a whirlwind, she concentrated all of her energy onto the sharp tip of her stiletto heel. This was the final strike to perform his requiem. The Queen Bee final strike that would bore into heaven, knocking him down into the true abyss. Welcome to the abyss. This is the end of the line for you. Her prey capturing her sight, she launched her foot up to the sky. It was then that she saw George's face. Even though he was in midair, he was calmly adjusting his glasses with the middle finger of his left hand. And his posture was preserved as some sort of axe kick, aiming at Cap's forehead without the faintest deviation. I've already anticipated that he would opt for that move. If I jumped to make the person that was on the ground taste my heel, my posture would have collapsed long ago. However, my posture hasn't collapsed in the slightest. You know why? From the very beginning, I jumped to make the person that was 2 stories below me taste my heel. You lose, Missy.
Ping pong.
Ping pong. Jessica's last and strongest punch reached the wall and was sucked in. It was stuck into the black large hole that had suddenly opened on the wall. Well, I did advise you to stop. Truth is, I was never in the slightest bit of trouble. Sorry. Jessica's fist had gone for George's stomach, and George's axe kick had lined up on Jessica's head. The shocking destructive power imbued in Jessica's fist crushed George's organs and scattered his abdomen. The equally as shocking destructive power in George's axe kick smashed half of Jessica's head and scattered its contents in the same manner. I mean, come on. Witches are all about acting, alright? Hey, Richie, how was it? You were watching? Not bad. Follow the script to a T. You really do get it, Gap. Beato and Gap gave each other a slight high five. Zakirana! Vediamo. No, urla e basta. Thanks, Ronove. That was a treat. I returned Jessica's corpse back there. Separate the corpses of the 2 who are close. It is the second twilight done now. Oh, is the second twilight done now? Gap dropped Jessica's corpse into a pit and chuckled at all the chunks of meat too. And chucked all the chunks of meat too into Jessica's room, as carefully as throwing them into the trash. Jessica's corpse and lumps of flesh fell from the ceiling and poured out all over her room. Ronove shook his head slightly at this all too gruesome change. My apologies, Jessica-sama. I did warn you. Of course. I suppose it's only natural that a human like yourself can't understand the demonic pleasure I derive from forcing this conclusion and giving you repeated warnings that you won't listen to. They know you won't listen to. It's been really fun, kiddo. But you play with words a little too much. I think you're ready. I think if you're ready, may I fight back was the absolute. No, I think if you're ready, may I fight back was the absolute classic. Oh, you've been reading a few too many light novels or something, you know? The arbor brutally decorated by George and Jessica's scattered blood and guts. Gap enjoyed a loud laugh for a while. But she quickly realized that, in all seriousness, this was a little too filthy and undignified, so she snapped her fingers. As she did, gold butterflies rose up from the ground and all around the garden, stuck to each of the bits and stained patches of blood and got them out. Then, bit by bit, they slowly turned back into George's corpse, and the awful corpse with its guts splattered out was repaired to a clean corpse that looked like he was sleeping. Was this some kind of post-mortem sportsmanship towards a good opponent? The heavens were slowly split, because Gap had lifted her leg high into the air, pointing at the sky. So long, Lady Killer. This is the real game over. Squish! Without a trace of mercy, that foot was brought down and buried into George's forehead. Her stiletto heel, sharp as a weapon, was impaled through George's forehead. She pulled it out with a blorp. It was like a mark of proof that Gap had indeed finished him with her own hand. Boh. Abbiamo finito? Dove torniamo adesso? Beh, Ronover turned Jessica's corpse to his original form as well, and unlike how it had been with George, he also restored Jessica's life. Addirittura. He can do that. Ci fermiamo qua, gente, perché abbiamo fatto un'ora e mezza in più. Un'ora e mezza in più.